Hello everybody and welcome to the FireButton Bantercast. This is the Game of the Decade edition. I'm Steve and with me I have Callum.
I'm Callum.
I have Adam.
I'm Adam.
And I've always got my usual compatriot, Adrian.
Hello.
So we're going to do a kind of roundtable discussion with personal picks of 3, though there may be more. We may go, well, we're going to just go around the room and feel where we are. And I feel like starting in alphabetical order, which is Adam. So what's your first game of the decade?
My first game of the decade would be Super Lucky's Tale.
Super Lucky's Tale?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain it to the audience? What kind of game is it?
Super Lucky's Tale follows Lucky.
Are you reading the Wikipedia, Abby?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
It was notes. Now you can edit that.
Okay. No, that's fine. Keeping it in.
Super Lucky's Tale follows a lucky and courageous fox.
Okay.
A very young one. And very... I'll come back to that. It's a platformer-based 2D game.
It's a 2D platforming game.
Yes.
Okay.
And it follows Lucky going through a portal of the Book of Tales? No, the Book of...
I feel like you're getting bogged down in narrative here, bub.
I am.
Do you want to tell us, okay, what is it about this game that strikes you as Game of the Decade material?
Well, the thing is, it reminds me of the old 90s games. Crash Bandicoot, Banjo-Kazooie, kind of would go maybe Spyro.
Okay, so your mascot platformers of the day.
Yeah, it's sort of going back to the beginning of those games, and it appeals to me. I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe it's the childlike game that it appeals to all ages.
I'm going to say, is it Xbox exclusive, this one, or is it PS4 and Switch?
I think it's only
I
Xbox.
believe it's Xbox and PC.
Okay, right.
It did have a first game for the Oculus Rift.
Okay, I didn't realise that, yeah.
But I don't know too much about that.
See, all I know of it is it's literally a reasonably well-accepted but somewhat mediocre title in the grand scheme of critics and things, but I can totally get behind the idea of just an old-school 2D platformer that isn't just Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog, which is ironic considering one of my picks.
3D, Steve.
You said 2D?
No, it's 3D.
He's lying to me. He lied to me on a podcast. People will hear this. They'll know you're a liar.
Fair proof is on the audio.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's fair. What's the music like? What's the general art style like? I'm assuming cartoony.
Oh, very cartoony, very colourful.
Mm.
Lots of smiley faces. Luckily, it's not in the clouds.
Okay.
Like Mario.
Well, what's the general music? Is it just you kind of accepted fare for this kind of thing then, or?
The music is sort of serene. It depends on the level that you're going through on the pages of the Book of Ages.
Okay.
You do have like a spooky one for the spooky level, and then there's a slight Christmas canyon level, which is a strange one, but it works.
Mm.
Pretty strange on one of them. Yeah, it's a mixture of sounds.
Okay. That's fair. If you had to give a comparison to any other kind of game, what would it be?
A cross between Crash Bandicoot and Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay. See, I have limited context here. I played Crash, but I never played Banjo. I know Banjo's a legacy title and all this lot, but sorry, never was my bag.
I never played it. I know someone who did play it, and I just watched.
Okay, that's fair. So, Game of the Decade number 1 from Adam, Super Lucky's Tale, which we've established is on the PC and Xbox One. Okay, that's fair.
Not my top one, but it's.
So you're doing it in ascending order.
It's what I've been playing.
Okay, Adam doesn't play many video games, but he enjoys them. That's the important part.
I don't get indoors much.
Okay, AD, what have you got? Hit me.
I really struggled with this for the third one.
Yeah.
Batting backwards and forwards, and I think I settled on Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Okay, I've got to ask why. Why that one?
It's better than it has any right to be.
Okay, we've had like 2,000 Assassin's Creed games in the decade, so that's pretty good.
I mean, the Assassin's Creed games were good up until, say, like the 4th game, and then they steadily started getting a bit worse.
Which one was 4? Was that Revelations?
No, that was the Black Flag.
Oh, see, I was going with actual releases, but okay, yeah.
They skipped a year, then they brought out Origins, which was good, and then Odyssey kind of built on it, but it built on it so much that it turned into a Witcher-like game.
So Odyssey is like the original Assassin's Creed games were sort of like meant to be Hitman, but with medieval tools, whereas this one is very much a open world RPG.
Yeah, with stabbing elements.
A game with stabbing elements, like anything.
To all those other games.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's also one of the games that the DLC actually falls in with the main game. and it doesn't feel bullshit.
Okay, this sounds very morally grey. Are we talking like extra after the ending stuff, or are we talking like...
It adds on to it.
Okay, so it's not...
So the game itself has a definitive ending, but it leaves a little bit open.
Okay.
So it's like the DLC takes you into Atlantis and it gives you a new map to run around in.
That's always good in an open world RPG.
And then the second DLC, it takes you to a different map, which is in Hell.
Hell as in...
Hades.
Yeah. Not the first time we're going to hell on this podcast. Spoilers.
No. So you start off in Greece, and then the first DLC takes you up into the heavens. Second DLC takes you underneath, and apparently there's a third DLC based in Atlantis itself, and all three are different maps on top of the main map.
So why, out of all the... I don't know what the rest of your picks are, but I'm assuming, is this the only RPG, open world RPG on your list?
Yes, because I fucking hate them as a rule.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to ask. How did this one make it in? Because you don't tend to like those games.
Honestly, I don't know. It was so surprising to me.
And it breaks from Ubi formula, right? It's not quite the same as the usual Ubisoft fare. Find a tower, find some side missions, and have fun. No,
there's tons of side missions. There's hunting elements where you can find animals to get extra skins, which will get you more gear. There's weapons to be found, like legacy weapons.
Are these like meant to be based on historical stuff as well?
Yeah, there's historical enemies as well, like Medusa.
Oh, you mythological stuff?
Yeah.
Like the Minotaur and...
It really builds on that Greece stuff. It's the first game probably since the Ezio series where the protagonist in it is really good.
I've heard it. Is it? Oh, what do you get the characters' names? Because apparently the dude's a bit of a wet blanket, but the girl's like kind of a badass. Is that...
Ubisoft have come out and said that the girl is actually the canon choice, and it does show because her voice acting is 10 times better than his.
No, it just says a lot about games in general, doesn't it? If the performance is hokey, it's not going to make the game any better.
So the girl is Alexandria.
It's Alexandria and Alexios, isn't it?
Alexios, yeah.
And all I know, because I haven't played Odyssey myself, I've only seen like secondhand stuff. I know that basically spoilers for this game. If you get,
this game of the decade, we're going to be spoiling stuff.
If you hear a game that you haven't played and you want to listen to, you want to play, and we mention its title, by all means, turn the podcast off, go play it, and then come back. We're not going to get offended. It'll be fine. We love you, really. Even Callum.
I don't. I'll judge you every step of the way.
You have to look at me saying that, right?
Step considering the Assassin's Creed game.
It's weird because I know you don't like these kind of games, and I'm still trying to process because Aiden's very much a like action in there kind of guy, or strategic planning, and your raids on Destiny.
Yeah,
bumming around a big open world has never been your bag.
No.
So
I mean, I've always enjoyed the Assassin's Creed stuff, but it's kind of like got tiresome because you're always doing the same things. And I've tried playing things like Witcher 3, and I just get bored going through them areas. But for some reason, Odyssey just grabbed me.
Okay.
From a game that I picked up secondhand, I spent well over 100 hours through it, which for me is unreal.
Yeah, that's a hefty investment. That's Final Fantasy tier investment, isn't it? Okay. Any notes on the music and stuff like that? I mean, the visual style, I imagine, is very much modern, polished, high-def graphics and really fancy textures.
It's all as you'd expect from an Assassin's Creed game. Really. Music-wise, it fits in with the Greece element, so it's like very much that type of music from that era.
Okay, or at least they're trying emphatic about like Jason the Argonaut style stuff.
Yeah.
And trumpets and big brass and stuff like that.
Yeah, it all ties in with what it's supposed to be really well.
Okay. All right, we shall move on then. Callum,
now
of your list of 2,000 games.
My current list of 9 games.
This podcast might be a long one, guys.
Yeah, it probably is, and that's just going to be me. Now, my suggestion is going to sound a bit hokey, given what Aiden's just said, but my third game of the decade is Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Okay, welcome to the Assassin's Creed podcast. No, actually, Black Flag was the last of that generation I played.
Essentially, yeah. It was the...
where they dialed back some from 3 to go, here's the old kind of controls, but with boots!
The Assassin's Creed 4, you're following a chap by the name of Edward Kenway, who is essentially a pirate who sort of lies his way into the Assassin's Order. He wasn't actually supposed to be an assassin, but in order to save his own skin, he joined the Order. But there's a very particular reason why it's so low on my list, despite the fact it's the only game that I own on several platforms.
Okay.
So I own it on the PS3, I own it on the PS4, I own it on PC, and I do play all 3 different versions. It's weird, but I like it.
Okay. I think gameplay-wise, just for the listeners, it is...
Gameplay-wise, it's very Assassin's Creed 3 in that it's kind of basic. You're following people, you're stabbing the bad guys, sometimes stabbing the good guys, but the reason it's so low on my list is because the story is just a wet squib.
You're basically just, here's a pirate doing piratey things.
It's one of these, if you can detach yourself from the story and spend 80 plus hours riding around in a boat, messing people's days up, which I've done, it's one of the best games ever released, because it is sat on a boat, float around, screw some of the rich people over, upgrade your ship, and just go on singing sea shanties.
And I say that the big selling point for this is the only reason people bought Rogue is because of the ship-to-ship combat, isn't it?
Rogue is a good mention as well, but it's just not. It's trying to be 4, but it's got an Irish bloke instead. So
Nothing against the Irish on this podcast.
Nothing against
Spike
the Irish
just
at all.
flipping sat up in rage.
But that's the only real difference between 4 and Rogue.
I thought Rogue was meant to be a Templar hunting the... It's
It is.
narrative stuff,
It
but...
is. It's flip reversed,
Yeah.
but it is essentially exactly the same game.
It's Jesper Kidd for both yours, Odyssey, and Black Flag's OST, isn't it? I think. The composer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, it's not the first time or the last time I think he's going to show up in this podcast as our game's composer.
No, but it's a game that if you can get past the land missions, which are copy-paste of pretty much the exact same ones, it's follow a stalker dude, jump off of a building and stab a dude. It's rinse and repeat. The story isn't great, the gameplay is a little clunky, but it's just the experience of the massive world and the floating around in the ship. It just grabs me every time, and it's something I replay often. Because I just enjoy it.
It is a game that's a lot of replayability, just hunting around, hunting boats and ships in the Jackdaw, which is the ship that Edward Kenway commandeers.
I'm going to say, this is, he does kind of like a discount Orlando Bloom, doesn't he?
Kind of.
Like,
yeah.
if you left Orlando Bloom out for a good 10 hours and you got him in mouldy, that's what Edward Kenway looks like.
It's
Slightly gone off.
It's kind of discount Orlando Bloom, but better acting.
Hey, all right, we're taking the hobbits to Isengard. No, sorry, I can't. All right, moving on.
Well, I've got to give a shout out to the actor there, Matt Ryan, who plays him. Yeah, he's excellent. People might know him as Constantine from the DC films.
Oh, right, okay, the animated ones.
Yeah, no.
Oh, the TV.
Well, yeah, the animated and the TV series.
Oh, okay, I didn't
It
realise.
was in Legends of Tomorrow, I think, at the moment.
All right, fair dues. I did not know that. That is trivia for the podcast.
Just as for the music and stuff like that in it, it's very era specific. It's sea shanties, it's lots of folk playing, it's fun and energetic, but it just doesn't get away from the land missions.
Yeah, apparently the big sticking point was some kind of stealth with ships. You have to sneak around in a giant boat or something. That's a lot of
you have to
sticking
try
point
and
for
be
it.
stealthy in a giant galleon. It just doesn't work.
I can't put those two
Let's
things
sneak
together.
up on this other ship that's literally probably about 3 meters away from us, but they definitely can't see us.
Well, if you think about it,
Well, they're not
back in
looking
that-
behind.
Back in that era, that lighting was absolutely pants. They only had torches to light the way through. So if you literally black out all your torches and
Well, it worked during the war to stop out all the bombers.
it would work. You wouldn't see a ship even if it was right in front of you because it's that pitch black.
You'd hear it, especially if some goof off is singing. But, you know...
That's why you gag them.
Okay, right. Right, moving on. My picks for Game of the Decade have been like a slot machine, just going... What's going to come and hit? What's going to hit? So I'm going to go with a shout-out. This is actually... I'm pretty sure this is one of Jay's as well. Okay, Doom 2016 to be exact. Okay, now I'm pretty sure most of the people on the podcast are older than most teenagers, but Doom used to be this iconic first-person shooter where an angry man shot demons and then didn't stop until they were all dead to avenge a bunny rabbit. Fast forward to 2016, you are now the Hellwalker. You wake up in a casket, smash it. The first thing you do is grab a zombie by the face and smash it into stone, pick up a gun, and then just carry on murdering, twisting their bodies. It is pure energetic violence with gun in hand. And it's also a breath of fresh air. Like for first-person shooters, this past decade has kind of stopped it a little, but there was a lot of aim down your iron sights, shoot the military dudes, and it was kind of boring, at least for me. So being thrown into what is essentially a nostalgia trip with modern tweaks and lots of little nonsensical gameplay mechanics, like, for example, chainsawing a monster is going to sprout loads of ammo, twisting them in half in some horrible kill animation is going to give you health. It kind of rewrote how to play first-person shooter for me. I can't help but feel that Doom 2016 may well be the last good shooter I play. That's how good this game is. That's why it's still on my to-be-played again and again list. Much like Doom was from probably most of their predecessors, the older generation.
So what's your feelings on Doom Eternal?
Doom Eternal? I'm hoping it's good. But I'm going to be real for a second. You hear the words Bethesda, and
they've burned some bridges.
They have. It's like every other. No. Okay, look, this is a slight divergence podcast, but let's just take a quick recount. Since I'm going to say Fallout 4 was okay. Most people like that. Yeah,
it was alright.
Okay.
Yeah, it was alright.
Fallout 4 was okay, followed by Rage 2 being a flop with loads of microtransactions, Wolfenstein Youngblood being a flop with poorly executed co-op and microtransactions. Doom, the original Doom, has been ported onto ATM machines, printers, all sorts of daft things, car stereos. I'm pretty sure a microwave can run Doom.
Calculators.
They port it to the Switch and they fuck it up. Now, to their credit, they have recently patched it and made the game much more playable.
In their defense, the Switch in its heyday, back in its origins, was a bit of a difficult bugger.
Yeah, but this is a game that could run on it was built for old 386
you're
computers.
talking about the original?
Yeah, not Doom 2016. I'm talking original Doom.
Oh, right, okay.
They had to make it so it was internet access only and all these other dumb decisions. And then, this past couple of weeks, they patched it. It is now the first official released version by a company that's not like a fan-made engine or a source port that some fans have done, that will run Doom at 60 FPS and can have console downloads of expansions. So on that front, great. But then there's Fallout 76. If there is a big old funeral pyre of complete shit that just keeps getting fucking worse, and I'm looking at Bethesda and I'm going, are you going to fuck up Doom Eternal? Are you going to really ruin it for me? I'm still hyped for it, but I'm like hedging my bets now.
Yeah.
Aside from that, New Colossus, the Wolfenstein sequel, the other Wolfenstein sequel, was kind of mediocre. Then you've got Prey, Reboot Prey, which is basically a weird hybrid of trying to be System Shock and being this is going to sound very weird, but somewhere between Bioshock and System Shock lies Prey. And then you've got a bit of that kind of Arcane Studios narrative being sprinkled in. It just doesn't gel well. Okay, which is funny because most of the enemies look like friggin' gel.
Which Prey?
The newer one, the newer Prey, yeah. Basically, since Doom 2016 and Fallout 4, every Bethesda title has been kind of a turkey. So I'm kind of like, are they going to screw it up?
But it's Doom. You can't really screw Doom up.
They did. They fixed it, but they did.
There are ways.
Dialing it back to Doom 2016 proper, though. Okay, narratively speaking, it's a bit more in-depth than its precursors. You're no longer an angry Marine who's caught on a teleportation accident followed by avenging his bunny. You are now a sentient killing machine who has spent God knows eons in hell, who has been brought out of it to fight the demons because the demons have basically pissed off at humans fracking their energy. Yeah, I know. That kind of social commentary, though. What's that quote again? The road to hell is paved with argent energy, or some dumb slogans. Very dumb. Very, very dumb. But they still managed to pull off a narrative where humanity is actually technically the bad guy, but you're still killing in favour of humanity. You don't feel about it? Because, demons are kind of nasty. They're kind of ugly. And then we dial it all away. And even if you don't like those kind of shooters, it's still got perhaps the best first-person shooter soundtrack I have heard.
One of the few things that I can actually remember about playing Doom was a lot of heavy metal, a lot of shouting, a lot of screaming, most of that from me, and just blood and viscera everywhere. But the only things that really stick in my head is the soundtrack.
You see, the soundtrack alone is like, that's god tier material. You don't even have to like metal, you'll love Doom soundtrack.
Did Doom 16 take a page out of, is it Brutal Doom?
I believe, personally, I believe so, but I'd imagine they may have just been in development at the time, saw Brutal Doom was a thing. Brutal Doom being a sort of, I don't want to say notorious, but very noteworthy mod for the original Doom, which includes these kill animations and various means of exploding bodies in horrible, horrible ways, or hilarious ways, depending on how you look at it. I definitely think they took cues from it, but I can't prove that. I would say Doom 2016 probably was in development before it became a popular thing, but I can't see them not taking notes from it.
That's a topic that's definitely not going to be brought up on the rest of the list. Which wink, wink.
Yeah, I know. It's weird on that front, because otherwise, I kind of feel like I'm underselling it. It is just a simplistic shooter at the end of the day, but there is like open-end map design. Whereas most shooters these days, it's take cover behind wall, put finger to ear, listen to exposition, shoot the next squad of guys and move on. Doom is like sprawling maps. You got to find keys, find secrets. It's very old school. Yeah, I could wax lyrical about this game all day, so I feel like I'm going to be nice/mean and put Adam on the spot and ask him what his next game is.
The next game would be The Last of Us.
Let's get miserable, everybody.
Yay!
Tell me about The Last of Us, Adam.
It is another version of an apocalyptic world involving 3 characters. We have Joel, main person you're playing, Tess, the girl that seems to bully him, and the package, which would be Ellie, which has, spoiler alert, the possible cure to the infected that they are now known as.
Yeah, for what Adam's trying to say is the world has come into a zombie apocalypse, but it's a slightly different apocalypse because it's not just zombies, it's mushroom zombies with the cordyceps.
Spores.
Now, this is the worst part, because I now have to issue a spoiler warning to Adam, because I don't think you've finished this game yet, have you?
I've finished the main narrative, but not the second. I don't know if it's DLC, but it came with the... I'm playing the remastered version, so it came with the extras.
Okay.
I believe that was a DLC, but obviously it's just been bumped in.
Left Behind, I think it's called, right?
Yeah, I think it was a DLC story.
Yeah, I haven't completed that one yet, but go ahead.
Okay, well, no, I was actually under the assumption you hadn't played the main story to the completion, to which I was about to then be a complete dick and spoil the ending. But I am going to the people on now, and Last of Us's ending, I think, is a game's ending that can be spoiled, so if you haven't played it...
Stick your fingers in your ear and scream until...
Yeah, forever and ever, and then really confuse people.
Scream until the podcast finishes, and then get back and finish it.
But no, do you want to describe the gameplay?
The gameplay, you are, like you say, hiding behind cover. You have this hearing option, which allows you to hear at a certain distance of any infected or human enemies.
Depending on what difficulty. If you're on, I have, Balls of Steel, stupidly hard mode, you don't get that.
Well, that, and you also have the option to enhance your hearing by using drugs. You essentially take pills to enhance your own skills.
Drugs are bad, don't do them, kids.
Yeah, no, video games, but my God.
Yes.
I forgot about that. You can just grab any old tablet and then, later on down the line, just next them. Or as implied does, and he's, I can hear better now for some reason. I'm sure you can, Joel. I'm sure you can.
I can't get Left 4 Dead out of my head now. Pills here.
Yeah, no, but it's third-person cover shooter with stealth elements, and the zombies are the game changer there. Because the people, it's pretty much, it's not Gears of War, but it is like a third-person blaster, isn't it?
It pretty much is. I mean, the infected is very predictable, but it's the humans that just are arseholes. Hello, welcome to the human race.
Like every other bit of zombie fiction ever, it's the people you have to watch out for. The zombies are kind of crap.
But the atmosphere, to go around essentially apocalyptic America and see the entire debris and everything, it's not open world, but it's unreal.
Well, they took, is it Chernobyl and places like that where they've been abandoned and left to time? They've kind of looked at how nature reclaims the land, and they've used that to, feed into it.
It is beautiful.
Like that, you will go through cities and areas that have just been completely regrown over. The buildings are falling apart because the vines are bringing them down. And yet it's not like sentient plant life that's really killing people. I mean, yeah, there's a spore, but it's not like the weeds aren't trying to eat people. They're just taking the world back.
Yeah, it's like basic trees rooting. If you've seen a tree root near a concrete wall, you notice the wall topples over due to the roots getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Or even it goes into the wall.
Now, I need help, boys. Have either of you Ada and Callum, ever played the original Last of Us, not the remastered version?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
How does that
PS3.
stack up against the remastered version visually?
No, not played.
No?
There's not much different, to be honest.
It's just the
Higher resolution textures.
high resolution
Yeah.
textures and 60
It's
FPS.
literally like a HD remake.
Okay, that's fair.
It's not Resident Evil level remake.
Oh, well, I wasn't expecting that, but I was wondering if it was like there were significant changes, like if they're fundamentally visually the same, just probably a shitter frame rate and slightly like blurrier on the PS3.
There was like better textures, higher resolution, something.
Okay,
Better frame rate.
As far as I'm aware, there's no extras apart from
because it's
visual.
The Last of Us is a fucking visually stunning game to say how miserable it is.
I've got a really unpopular opinion about it. That is, I think the game looks gorgeous, sounds gorgeous, but plays like a wet dog.
Yeah,
Really?
that's actually I can get behind that. I think I like the stealth bits. I love the stealth bits, but you put me into a gunfight, I want to eat the pad. It's boring.
Yeah.
You know, especially there's a set piece moment where you're being attacked by a sniper.
Ah, yes.
And
that's
it's
it.
just dull because you have to just go to the side and then you have to just shoot 10 guys and then you lob a Molotov and you get there. From someone who has played the heavy heights, the bevy of excitement and action that is Resident Evil 4, it's piss poor. Okay? And in Resident Evil 4, you couldn't even move and shoot.
I even preferred Uncharted's gunplay to it.
It's the same people, right? Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Uncharted, another game I'm going to start playing as soon as I finish these. But we're still on about The Last of Us.
All right, so okay, spoilers for the ending, okay, right?
No.
No,
Before
no.
you go into
I
the
want
ending-
to know your thoughts on the ending, Adam.
Before you go into the ending, I would say to the developers of The Last of Us, should have made that as an alternative and possible alternative
A choice.
choice. Yes,
See, I tried the exact same thing. All right, yeah,
there should be options where each.
but that's not how the story goes.
I know though, but if in the entirety of the game there are options where you could put an option there.
It's
And
not.
you
It's not.
can't.
It's
You've
not
got
Telltale.
one-
It's not Telltale. It's Naughty Dog. You've got to suffer Joel's story. You've got to carry that guilt for the rest of your life, knowing you've doomed that world.
I know which bit you're trying to spoil me, and I'll try and beat you to
Look,
it.
it's
Joel did a stupid thing and didn't let Ellie die for the sake of the human race.
yeah. He kills the one hope humanity has.
Possible.
It's the only video game I know of where you do something. And you can see where it's coming from. He doesn't want to see another innocent young girl get hurt. But
Oh, yeah.
he dooms everybody.
Yes, Joel had a 11-year-old daughter 20 years back before the apocalyptic.
Well, as it's kicking off.
Yeah. So, and she dies, of course, and obviously he's trying to fill that void with Ellie.
So, what did you think? Because you basically want to try and stop him from doing the stupid thing.
I was umming and ahhing about the stupid thing, but there was no other option. You had to go and murder those.
But you would have preferred an option to not do it.
I prefer the entire game to have an option-based narrative.
Well,
Each thing would interpret, but then again,
that's Telltale Games, The Walking Dead, and even then that still follows a sort of linear
and then you're
narrative.
dragging out the game as well. So it's in runtime, it works. Even though I would say it has the options to have other options.
Do we know who did the music for The Last of Us?
I've got a clue.
Because that's another thing I want to touch on, because the music's pretty good. It's not there all the time, but when it's there, it's not like some swooping epic stuff. It's very melancholy.
It's a guitar.
Yeah, it's just melancholic
Acoustics.
guitar whenever like something, something sad happens, like, the bit with the brothers who pass away.
Yeah.
But the reason I asked this is because I was kind of wondering, like, that ending still, both I understand Joel's actions, I'm pissed off, and then like the same, and then every so often I think about it, the world was already like ruined. The world's already in a crap state. A cure is probably not going to do anything at this point.
It would do something, but you'd still got the human race wanting to be a dick to each other.
Yeah. You've
So
got cannibal
all the
murderers and all
hunters-
sorts of psychotic stuff.
All hunters would
And
still
it's-
do the same thing.
Go on, Nick. Go on.
Very quick Google search. The music of The Last of Us was composed by musician Gustavo Santa something or other.
The music for The Last of Us was done by Gustavo Santaolalla. Okay, I probably butchered that pronunciation as much as anyone else.
Yeah,
but at least I didn't
wouldn't
like.
have stood a chance.
Well,
As far as I'm aware, most of the music is guitar acoustic based. I don't think there's any other genre of music in the actual game. I'm not entirely sure of that though.
His only other work game-wise... Yes, he's done 2 video games. He's done The Last of Us.
Of course.
And Last of Us 2.
And The Last of Us Part 2. Well, shit! No, okay.
Speaking of this ending, it's drawn to my attention that this year is possibly the new one.
No, it will be.
The remaster of Last of Us 2.
It won't be the remaster, it will be the release of The Last of Us 2.
No, there's already another release.
No, The Last of Us 2
is out in May.
Yes.
It's a whole new game.
Yes. It's not...
Last of Us Part 2.
It's a sequel. It's not like a remake or anything, it's just a sequel.
Oh!
Which you see, you know when we were talking about Adam
Sorry,
not playing many games.
Hi, guys.
I think it's cute.
It was a stunning game. There's one bit that pretty much fucked me over was the stealthing of Tess and Ellie whilst the Marines are after you. There's one part that I can literally say that the gameplay just literally went downhill from that one bit because you can be as stealthy as fudge if you wanted to.
We've already been swearing at him, it's okay.
I tried. But for some reason, they spot you.
Well, like I said, that's the problem. The only shortfall of it is it's very... You do it, you have to play the script. You have to do the bits the way the Naughty Dog kind of intend. But to round it out, why is this your game of the decade?
Well, apart from...
Is it the narrative or the gameplay? It is the narrative, right?
I've not really been playing much, as you've stated, so,
Well, that's fair.
one of the games.
Okay.
That's right.
I rather like it. The only reason I got into it is because I found out that one of my favourite voice actors plays Joel.
Okay, Troy Baker.
Yes, and obviously in the Uncharted series, because the reason I got that is because Nolan North's in it.
And they're big buddies.
As well as it's a Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Which brought Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, you know.
It's a very weird legacy when you think about it. But anyway, we are digressing heavily. Let's get on with it. Aid. Game number 2, please.
This is going to be it's an obvious, but it's also a strange one because it's also one of my worst games of the decade.
Okay.
And that's Destiny 2.
See, I was expecting Destiny 1 to be here.
No.
This is where I sit back because I've not played Destiny 2 nor have any intention to.
But it's like Aid's Bay.
I played it when it first came out.
I love Destiny 1, and then Destiny 2 came out, and it was garbage. It was so disappointing compared to the first game, and obviously because it's a live game, they've been building on it. And last year's expansion, which was technically the year before's now, which was Forsaken, completely rewrit it, changed it, everything over it. And what they did to transform it was just unreal. So it went from just your generic, basically, even though it wasn't free to play, it acted as a free to play shooter.
Yeah. Destiny 1.5.
Yeah.
Well,
0.5.
Yeah.
Took a step backwards.
Yeah. It was weaker than year 1. Destiny 1.
Yeah, to what Forsaken bought was a successful sequel to it. The main reason I like these games is obviously the community element to it is absolutely stunning. I mean, you've got your raids, which is like 6-player activities. And the thing that sticks out most is like some of the community missions, like there's literally just been one this week where you've gone through, and if anyone's played Destiny, they'll know Saint 14 is like a famous titan in the lore.
Right.
He's been lost in time, and you've had to go through the corridors of time to find him.
Corridors of time, those like slightly random generated things, right? Or am I going crazy?
Well, it was like, there's another character called Osiris. He went to study the Vex, which are like, they're time-traveling robots, basically.
Yeah.
They have been using something called the Infinite Forest to build different scenarios to try and basically build different outcomes so they can select their best outcome to take over the world. I know.
No, it's fine. No, we're gonna. It's an MMO game, so we're gonna get some lore whether we try to skim over it or not.
After all that, he's built something called a sundial, which is his version of a time machine. So you step into sundial, it takes you into the corridors of time, you search for Saint 14. You find Saint 14, and then he says that he's got another mission for you, and that's to just explore the corridors of time. And the community quickly found out that as they were exploring around, they found a grave site there, And the theory was it was your grave, like your own grave for your guardian.
You play a character, yeah?
Yeah, but when you went up to the grave, it had like a thing for you to interact with. And as you looked down, there was like a hexagonal sequence. And each player who went there, it was different for everybody in the community.
Okay, so it might have been their player character then.
And throughout the community, every hour for 7 hours, it changed. So you could go there once an hour
And get a different sequence.
Get a different sequence. All this was built on a spreadsheet, and I think they built up something like 6,000 different ones. And once they put it all together, it created a giant map of the area. And then they had to link all this. There's like little nodes in the middle. They had to link some of the nodes. And it ended up with 9 nodes being linked to create a pathway to get to your grave without being teleported back in time again. Once you've got there, it opened up a quest for an exotic weapon.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting, actually, when you think about it. I mean, so
that quest started last Tuesday, and they literally solved it today. It took them 6 days to solve the quest.
So this is a game where they could announce a new raid event, and within 6 hours, maybe like 40 minutes, depending on the team, they'll have cracked the weird ciphers and riddles you need to beat bosses and all these other things. And that took days.
Yeah.
So, because Destiny 2 is very, very had like sort of a bloody history now because of the whole Activision Blizzard and, the split with Bungie. So it's nice that they managed to take that and like be very interesting with it. Like, I don't know. I haven't had much MMO experience. Like I know of what they are. I realize World of Warcraft is the biggest thing ever. Yes, don't hit me with cans and stuff. But it's nice to know that they've even this. I mean, because they had to scrap their roadmap, didn't they? Their
pretty
plan,
much, yeah.
That they can still do some interesting stuff.
I mean, they're on limited resources now, so they've moved into like the battle pass type thing. And they go into seasons, so each season's probably around 3 months long.
I feel like we skipped over this a little bit for those who haven't fully in the loop in the note. Destiny 2 is a first-person looter shooter with like RPG elements, your class system. Kind of, I want to say that fine line between Halo and Borderlands. If it was a bit more less funny and more serious, that's probably where Destiny's kind of thrust is.
The gunplay in it they've done it really well. When you play a Destiny game, all the weapons have different feels to them, and they do have like some really good strength to it.
You see, from my perspective, there was only one kind of gun in Destiny, and that was revolvers. Because I like hand cannons, y'all.
There's still hand cannons in there, and they're still very good weapons. But you've got all the things like slug shotguns.
Ooh, so actual shotguns that work at range, as opposed to 2 meters in front of you, and that's it.
Yeah, linear fusion rifles, which act as snipers as well, but take a little bit of time to charge up. And then you've got the infinite weapons that they bought from Destiny 1, like the Whisper of the Worm, which was the Black Hammer back in the day, where you fire 3 shots, get 3 precision, and it automatically reloads the weapon for you.
Oh, it's a burst-fire assault rifle kind of thing.
Kind of, but it's more of a DPS thing. You haven't got to spend time reloading the sniper rifle. It's just constantly firing until you run out of ammo.
So, for Game of the Decade, then, this falls in there. Is it mainly because of the community and the devs after the fact now?
For me, it's just the community. I mean, I'm going to be pretty biased because I run a clan now.
Yeah. For those wondering, it's Dog Soldiers, right?
Dog Soldiers, yeah. We try to raid weekly. We've been a bit slack lately because Christmas and everything.
It's a whole new year.
Yeah. We try to get at least one in a week. And it's just the camaraderie between everyone who's playing it. We really enjoy playing it, even if we're doing the same shit every week.
Well, that's something I do know about MMOs. The grind, the prospect of better loot every time, even if it's like infinitesimal, you'll still go for that like roller coaster ride.
Yeah, we're still chasing things like different rolls on weapons, which that introduced in Forsaken, whereas before it was just static rolls through Destiny 2.
Right.
I mean, the music as well, that's always been really, really good.
I want to say it's operatic and synthy, very science fiction.
It's very much on par with what you'd expect from Halo.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Only with the old Gregorian chanting.
Yeah. Yes, the story can be bullshit at times, but it does have interesting elements of lore as you're playing through it.
I have a tiniest bit of trivia for Destiny right now, okay? The male avatar voice is Peter Jessup. This man was also the voice of Albert Wesker in the Resident Evil remake. That's my one contribution to Destiny, I'm sorry.
Could be worse. I mean, we could still have Dinklebot.
Yeah, you see, everyone disses on Dinklage. I thought he was all right as an emotionless robot, which it's what it's meant to fucking be. Oh,
And now we've got Nolan North.
see, I like Nolan North, but I actually do prefer Dinklebot. All right, you know.
I forgot Nolan North did.
Yeah, the ghost. Yeah,
The little ghost.
yeah.
But it's surprising some of the actors they've got in there. It's like Osiris is played by. If you ever seen the Mummy films, there's the Arab guy in there.
Oh, what, Odafer?
I think that's
Odafer.
his, yeah.
I think that's how you pronounce his name.
The bald man.
No, the guy who he's in all of them.
Yeah,
he played Carlos in the Resident Evil films. I'm sorry, I keep bringing up Resident Evil, and it's not even on my list. I love those games, but it's not on the list.
And there's the Titan as well, Zavala. He's played by
Your dad. You see, he sounds like everybody's dad.
If you've seen the John Wick films, there's the hotel, not manager, but the steward at the front.
Oh, okay. Moving on. Callum.
To anybody who's ever sat and watched an old TV as it flicks to static and you're steadily trying to flick through the channels and every channel you come by is just more and more static, that's pretty much where I've landed on my number 2 and my number 1 because there are so many that could take its place. But
Yeah, so you have a list of 9.
I've got a list of 9, although just sat here thinking that's grown to 12.
So my mass slot machine's still going. What's coming out?
To be fair, I've been reminded of a new game myself.
Welcome to the 4-hour podcast. We're currently coming up for 45 minutes.
So for me, my number 2 is technically a little bit of a cheat because you did say at the beginning that it was the decade is from number 1 up until the end.
Well, no, the decade. Right, okay.
Which I disagree with.
Except for people who are upset on the internet, okay? But everyone else has gone by this rule, so I'm going by it. I'm going from 2010, January 1st,
Oh, good.
to December 31st, 2019. Which is essentially only, that's 10 years, right?
Yes. Ish.
Ish, yeah.
But my number 2 is really early on in this decade.
Honestly, doesn't matter.
It is Red Dead Redemption 1.
Now we're talking.
The first-
Horses, boys. Cowboys.
First Red Dead Redemption.
The best Rockstar game.
Red Dead 2 would be on this list, but compared to Red Dead 1, it doesn't do the same thing for me. And because to not spoil it, Red Dead 2 is an emotional roller coaster. It goes up and down, and you ride that as you go. It's set out so well that you ride the wave of the emotional aspects. But with Red Dead 1, it's the incline at the start of a roller coaster until you get to the end, and then it just goes straight down. It's one of those gradual setups that you don't see coming until it happens, and then your heart hits the floor because it's...
So it's narrative mainly, that's why Red Dead 1.
Mainly the narrative, but also for me at the time, it was a completely new way of playing for me.
Okay.
I'd not really... Yeah, I'd played like GTA 3 and San Andreas and stuff like that. Yeah, they were alright, I suppose, but Red Dead for me was like the first proper big open world. You have to sit there and travel yourself and all the different characters that you come across, the gameplay, the story has been said. It's one of those, as I said, roller coaster up, ending straight to the feet, straight to the floor.
See, I have a theory for most Rockstar games, okay? You're going to have a narrative with a set cast of characters, and you know that someone eventually is going to betray you, and they're going to backstab you.
Yeah.
Now, in most of these games, they try and make it so you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Like for Lance Vance in San Andreas or Big Smoke, Vice City in San Andreas. In this game, Red Dead 1, that card is not on the table. You know pretty much from the get-go that they're going to screw you over.
You do kind of know from...
They've already got you by the
beginning. They've got you by the gonads.
Yeah.
They have got a hand clasped firmly around you.
And you're trying to break free.
You're essentially trying to break free, and you get to a point where they do essentially say, cool, you've paid your debt, you've done what we've asked, off you go. Go live on your farm.
And then it's a twist that you were never free to begin with.
As I never saw the ending coming. I wish I'd seen it coming. but I didn't see the level of...
Maybe I'm just cynical. I don't know.
I knew something was going to happen, but at the point where they say, cool, off you go, you've done your bit, I thought, fair enough, the game must be over. Nope.
No.
The game is not over, and they just really... They've got the hand around you, they're just going to give it a damn good squeeze, and still sad about it to this day.
To the listeners who haven't played Red Dead 1,
I haven't played Red Dead 2.
That's okay.
That's a prequel, so it's kind of disconnected.
Yeah, it's basically take the same concept and fill it with loads and loads of baggage and stupidity, and so some good fun moments, but I would say that 1 gets to the point faster.
Yeah,
but no, it's an open world, GTA styled, but not necessarily crime focused. Now, you're not meant to play John as a bad guy. You're meant
GTA
to be
with a horse.
You're a bounty hunter basically, and you are hunting your former comrades across an open world, doing various GTA-styled missions, which are normally like flavor of the month. I want to do these horses and find them. Can you do that for me? Or,
yeah, there's a lot of like following and like riding to locations with exposition.
Some are just riding to a gunfight, though.
Yeah, kind of. Then it's just little things that happen between the horse riding that you're not really tied to do anything. It's you can head off on a mission. Yeah, granted, do the mission, but then the open world opens up.
My scary badass John Marston loved picking flowers. Just put it out there.
Mine loved hog tying random people and putting them on rail tracks.
Okay, some people do play John Marston as a bad guy, apparently.
Probably the biggest gripe that I could give to it is the notoriety system in it. Doesn't really do anything.
No.
All it does is make you either feared or loved.
See, I always thought it was kind of bad, and the only reason I say this is because the concept of the morality stuff doesn't gel well with the game. You're not meant to be that guy.
In all fairness, it doesn't really fit with any game.
I mean,
specifically,
what I mean is, like, you could go up and shoot the living daylights out of like one of the towns, and then do a mission, and your John will be this noble like cowboy who's just trying to save his family or hunt down this man who's wrongdoer.
Given what happens in Red Dead 2, it does kind of explain why he is the way he is in Red Dead 1.
But in the gameplay perspective, there can be a divergence there.
Yeah.
You're meant to play John as a good guy, but you can be a psychopath.
Oh yeah, you can go completely off the rails and shoot up a town, which I did. So.
That's why we save games first.
Yes.
Hit F5, and then Whiteruns, we're going to have a bad friggin' day.
But the biggest thing for me, and I've discussed this on a previous FireButton video, was the DLC. The
Undead Nightmare.
The Undead Nightmare, which to me still stands as the best DLC ever released for any game.
Oh, I don't know about that, boy. I don't know about that.
For me, it stands as the best piece of DLC because, again, the story is just great. It's fun. It takes zombies to its own little route.
Yeah, they're like a mixture between undead and voodoo, aren't they?
Yeah, the zombies in this are more of an annoyance than they are of like a major threat. But it's just more of the Red Dead story set in an alternate universe.
You could theoretically slot it in like a tiny moment where you've just hunted down the final of your comrades.
Yes.
But it would be a very weird, like breaking a triangle into a square hole kind of narrative fit.
It is a massive alternate universe thing. It's not set in canon, even though I wish it was. But hey ho, it's just a fun game.
You think if you were to nutshell it, GTA with horses is a bit of an understatement, or do you think that's...
No, I'd say that was kind of...
That's what it says on the
kind of
tin,
right.
but I think it's better narratively than any GTA game.
Oh yeah, the narrative is significantly better than anything GTA could pull up. But it is essentially GTA with horses.
So the music is very much like lots and lots of guitar twangs.
Clanky.
Yeah, I would say that's a bit rubbish.
Kind of a little. Well, what's the word I'm looking for?
Cowboy and western stuff.
Yeah,
it's like the spaghetti western films.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's just a bit. It screams spaghetti westerns, but it's none of it ever feels like it's going flat.
I think it's serviceable kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I'd say this is the weird. I feel like I'm being negative on the game, but I totally would agree. It's a great pick for game of the decade. But I do feel like the music's kind of serviceable. There's one epic moment, and that's like the final. You've just done the big thing. You're going to see your family.
Yeah, the music can be a bit
It's
really, you don't pay that much attention to it. It's mainly the atmospheric sounds that you give out, and in some of the deeper moments, yeah, it does kick up and it is decent for what it is, but otherwise it's just rather plain and bland.
which is weird because it can be a very immersive experience.
I need to play that again.
Yeah, Red Dead 1 is still like, if Callum hadn't took it, I might have
I
well
would
done.
honestly recommend, if anybody's now thinking of replaying Red Dead 1, definitely play Red Dead 2 first.
I really need to play Red Dead 2.
And then go into Red Dead 1.
Do you think it rewrites a few things and makes it so you can appreciate 1 more?
It definitely rewrites some things. However, you will connect more with John Marston.
I know, I connect with that man well, but yeah, okay.
But given what happens in Red Dead 2, again, no spoilers, go play the damn game. It rewrites things, it adds new things, it adds a bit of conflict and a bit of interest.
Gives you a new perspective on the game.
If you play it blind, then yeah, sure, go for it. It works on its own.
There's one downside to Red Dead 1 that we need to talk about.
You're going to say the multiplayer, aren't you?
I'm not going to talk about the multiplayer. The multiplayer is okay. It's actually, I would prefer it
It's
over
Red Dead-
GTA 4
it's Red
or
Dead
something.
2 that you've got to watch the multiplayer for. But
The bit after the ending for Red Dead 1.
yes.
The punishment for beating the game.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the credits haven't rolled then.
Move your damn stack.
After a certain event happens with John, you are then forced to play as his son, and
Would it be...
you go from having one of the most likable protagonists in a game to having easily one of the worst.
It's one of those open world games that when you finish the main storyline, you are still open to play the game.
But you're forced to play as
But
this
you are
piece of
forced
shit.
to play as the most unlikable person that you could possibly get. The problem with that is his son throughout the game grows up to be this bookworm and a bit of a nerd and a bit of a, no, I don't want to do this cowboy stuff, Dad. That's in the past. And it takes this one event plus about, 10 years for him to then decide, no, I'm going to
Be a
continue
psycho.
my dad's legacy. And it's just...
Well, he learns all the worst parts of his legacy.
Oh, yeah. He read a book about cowboys.
But
and
it's
that's what he went off of.
it's how to put it into terms. It's like you start the game playing as Bruce Willis in Die Hard, and then you end up being Alan Rickman in Die Hard.
That's no bad thing.
Well,
It's not a bad
It's not.
thing.
I can see your connection. That is definitely not a bad thing.
okay, maybe that was a poor.
New example.
Probably go to like being his son in the most recent Die Hard.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's a
Father and son connections continue.
it's pretty. Yeah,
You take Bruce Willis in the first Die Hard, and his son just wants to do a remake.
it's terrible.
It's horrible.
Not to wax lyrical on Die Hard, but
Why are we using Die Hard as an example?
it's a sad.
You
barometer.
did this to us.
I did. But no, Jack Marston is just that fucking infuriating. And you can't even 100% the game unless you play as him, so...
And it doesn't even make the taking vengeance...
No,
for
he
his
just
dad.
he just shoots a man in
just
cold
walks
blood.
up and
No,
goes-
this...
He walks up to this cripplingly old man and goes, "Oh, do you remember me?" Fucking no!
Don't
Of
get me
course
wrong.
he doesn't
Don't get me
remember
wrong.
you.
This old man is a total bastard.
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
and he deserves
Yeah.
getting shot. But
This guy is probably riddled with Alzheimer's. at this point.
he's just sat there in his waders trying to fish, and then you duel him, and it's like bang, bang, bang,
So you walk
and you
up
cut
with
to your character's face. Boom.
You walk up in a duster coat, a completely different face, mustache, and a stupid little goatee. And go, "Oh, do you remember me?" I don't think he ever met you.
That's oh God. It's okay, right? We're diverging heavily
let's
here.
move on before I get angry and change.
Yeah,
my
no,
choice.
I think we shall.
Steve.
So my next game is very simply, what does the slot machine say? Diddle 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 diddle. Sonic Mania. Okay, now imagine, if you will, the halcyon days of the 90s. Yes, I'm very nostalgic. Don't judge me. We've had Doom, and now we're having something else. What if Sonic had gotten a sequel after Sonic 3 and Knuckles that was in the vein of those games, but on the Sega Saturn? That was basically the mission statement that, Christian Whitehead, Headcanon, and those guys, I think it was Pagoda West, they had that kind of mission in mind when they were making Sonic Mania, which is basically a classic Sonic game made for the modern era. Also, lots and lots of Foley in the background of the studio now. I'm sorry. Am I boring everybody?
No.
Yeah, it's weird. This was a Sonic game made by fans, published by Sega. That's a sort of a greatest hits compilation. It feels like the second coming of Sonic and Knuckles, like that massive scope of a game with lots of stuff to do, but made with fans in mind. It's not like, it's definitely more difficult than its predecessors. You know, you're Sonic, you run fast, you pick up rings, you hit robots, you hit the end, you fight a boss. It's, you know, it's simple stuff, but then they'll twist it, and the boss isn't just like some contraption machine that Robotnik's in, like trying to pelt you with stones or something. No, it's the Mean Bean Machine, you know, random stuff like that, where you're actually fighting him in his own puzzle, and it turns out he's very bad at his own game. It's weird. Then you've got supercharged like remixes by T. Lopez, or I think that's how I pronounce his name, doing the soundtrack and lots of covers. But then there's the newer stuff. I mean, it's weird. Sonic Mania for me was like being a kid again.
Yeah.
You know, it's a classic Sega, back when Sega was a powerhouse as opposed to a side of middle of the road. Like they'll do the odd good game, but then they'll be like really, really, really crap kart races, kind of. I mean, they'll greenlight Shenmue 3, sort of, as long as someone else makes it and they don't have to pay a penny. It's weird, because this game is perhaps the best Sonic game I've played in. I mean, how many Sonic games came out in this decade alone? We've had
You've got that one where you can
Forces,
play
Generations.
Yeah, that one.
We've had, I think, Sonic Colors. Yeah.
Sonic 4, or was that before that?
I'm not sure about Sonic 4. Maybe. But, I mean, those kind of games, they're kind of crap in comparison. Yeah. Like, Sonic was definitely better then, you know, in the older generation. And this is like bringing it up to spec. And just the fact that Sonic's back, it's fun. The music's amazing. There's not a lot I can talk about that we can't really say, other than it's just more classic Sonic, and it's well made. And it's made with, you know, people who have played the old ones in mind. And then they released free friggin' deals. No, Plus wasn't free, was it? Sonic,
no, it was cheap. Though.
It was cheap, yeah. It was like, basically, here's 2 characters you may have never fucking heard of that are like fan favorites in the community, you know, Mighty the Armadillo and Ray the Flying Squirrel, which I believe was it Sega Sonic or something? There was in like a single, well, no, Mighty got into Chaotix, but Ray the Flying Squirrel didn't.
Right.
It was a arcade game.
Yes, I've seen a playthrough.
Yeah, it was like a 3D isometric view kind of platforming thing. And they bring these guys into it and manage to find a fresh take on how to platform in a Sonic game with it. Even then, I mean, Sonic's got new moves as well, hasn't he? He's got the drop dash, which is, apparently it was based on either a fan mod or some old tech that was in the old engine. Like, it turns out there was a drop dash intended to be put in one of the games. I can't remember. The minutiae of these details is really irrelevant, let's be honest.
We made a video, we might as well go back and see that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's also a 4-player competition mode if you want to, like, you know, upset your friends.
Indeed.
Jay. No, it's how do I put it? The attention to detail, the sheer nostalgia factor is probably what's put this on the list for me, because it is one of those games I can keep coming back to. You know, I really, there has come a point now where the line has been crossed. I probably will not play Sonic 1 or Sonic 2 ever again to completion. I might dabble and play Emerald Hill or Green Hill, maybe Mystic Cave Zone, but I probably won't finish it. Whereas Sonic Mania, now it's new, it's fresher, and it's just like the highlight reels, plus it's got level select, which helps. Yeah, it's simple, it's effective. It's not going to emotionally move you like, say, The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption 2, but it tickles my nostalgia button, and therefore, FireButton, jokes.
It all comes around.
Yeah. Now,
so I'm completely on board with you with this, in the fact that for Sonic games, for me, the last decent ones were Sonic CD, Sonic 3. And since then, it's just been, again, a bag of wet letters.
See, I can enjoy Generations. Right? I can enjoy Sonic Forces in places, but it's nothing in comparison. Like, night and fucking day.
I mean, since they moved from, like, the 3D ones on the Dreamcast, I just felt they've all been flat.
Yeah. They're a bit, they're not...
It lost the speed.
Yeah.
Oh.
And these new zones, I mean, there's obviously remakes of Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plant Zone, you know, iconic stuff like that. I mean, Oil Ocean makes the fucking cut somehow. But like Studiopolis and Press Garden Zone, those two stand out for me. And then you've got like the apocalyptic Titan Monarch Zone, which is like, what if we had a Death Egg, but instead it's like a big facility of a giant robot. Very cool. I think the standout probably is Studiopolis, though, where it's literally just... like, how many Sega Easter eggs can we fit into one place? You've got, like, the Hornet. You've got Virtual Fighter references. You've got Streets of Rage references. You've got all these cool little things. And it's very much, if you're a Sonic fan, get Sonic Mania if you haven't already. And for God's sake, turn the music up. You know, you're going to love it. It's great. I don't have much more to say about it except it's deep. But it's not very deep. I'm not a very deep guy. I'm very shallow. All right? Okay? I'll be first to admit it. Surface level, that's okay for me.
I still prefer the music for Sonic CD, but
Boo!
Sonic Mania.
Boo on you! No, I'm kidding. I think that's another thing, actually. Just to touch on Forces for a second, there's a very weird thing there. Mania gets... There's Stardust Speedway. They use the Japanese soundtrack, or a facsimile of the Japanese soundtrack, for Mania. Forces, the Japanese-made game, as opposed to a bunch of English people and American guys, use the US music for some reason. That's a very strange overlap. Also, Lava Reef Zone is Bay. I'm not very, very sophisticated on this. Everyone else has got like really deep thoughts. I'm like, yeah, that game of the decade.
It's good. It's Sonic. It went fast.
It's good. It's Sonic. He went fast. I had a fun time. Still will.
Could turn tails off. Bonus.
Yeah. Could play as Knuckles. Yeah. Also, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a cool thing. They added the means to change your kind of squad mates on Plus, didn't they? Where you could have like, you could have any combination of like Sonic and Knuckles, or Sonic and Tails, or Mighty and Ray. Maybe just Knuckles on his own if you're feeling particularly like you want to punch things. I really can't think of much else to say about it other than...
Did anyone play Chaotix?
I dabbled with it briefly with Jay for a video. That was about my experience with it. We had the whole ring where you could tether people together.
Was that any good in comparison? Or
Knuckles Chaotix, I could do without it. That may be...
That's probably the only game I've not actually tried.
Right, okay. Well, back to something more sensible because I'm just rambling at this point. Adam, what's number 3, mate?
1 in my eyes because I've just recently playing it and now I'm going through the DLC. Everyone here knows me. I like spooky, kooky things and horrors.
Okay.
I've gone into what seems to be like Limbo in my eyes. It has the same sort of aspects.
But it's not Limbo.
It's very, very creepy at times. And the game is called Little
Nightmares.
Thank you.
This game I picked.
Big Planet.
Yeah, that's what got me. Little Big Planet, freaking sake. Yes, Little Nightmares. You are essentially a little girl, human, I think.
A little androgynous character in a raincoat.
In a raincoat, yeah. Basically on a spooky, unnamed vessel named Maul, I think.
Okay.
The little
it's a 2D, like it looks 3D, but it's 2D.
No, it's a physical 3D platformer, side-scroller.
Okay.
I think it's more along the lines of a 2.5D, where it's got the depth, but it's more of a...
So it's more focused on left to right, but you can move up and down.
You progress by going left.
Okay.
Or by occasionally going up.
Yeah.
So it is more of a 2.5D than just a 2D or a 3D, but it's...
Okay, that's a thing I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're a character named Six, weirdly. In the DLC, you are just named the Kid. But yeah, Six, basically, you go left to right or up and down, but you can go back and forth. You tend to go around little objects and stuff. Have, like, little...
So you're tiny in comparison to these giant things, aren't you?
More about them later.
Okay.
Yeah, you can basically do puzzles, work out where you need to go. There are little, I'm going to use the word gnome-like creatures that help you out. And you have to avoid the big, creepy creatures that inhabit this ship.
I say, what people always tell me is apparently the chef, is it the chef? Or something like that, a cook of some description is evil?
Let's just say the kitchen area.
Okay, the kitchen area, much like my real house, is a shambolic nightmare. No comment. Right?
I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, these creatures are just strange things. And the atmosphere, as you progress, it can either be dark, really lit, nice environment itself, or a pit of shoes.
You've played this as well, haven't you, Callum?
I have played this to completion, and I've delved quite deep into the lore. So.
There is lore.
There is lore.
You may have more to say about it than
No. I think you guys can team up on this one. Go for it.
It's so...
Where do you begin? That's the thing.
Yeah. Where do you begin?
Oh, let's start with the caretaker.
Are we bothered about...
We have had spoilers for plenty of games at this point.
Cool. Okay, it's set in a dystopian world where essentially food has run dry.
Okay, so it's the Hunger Games.
It's not really that. It's come to a point where mass manufacturing, like your processed hams and stuff like that, it's all processed foods. There's no natural food left.
I see.
I can't remember what cataclysmic event.
Waitrose now runs the world.
Essentially.
Wow, you really have dove deep into
I have, and there's
some really nice meats in the kitchen area. That's weird.
Essentially, all of the inhabitants of this world come onto this ship for essentially fine dining or for essentially feeding time.
Okay.
I'm just going to say slob out. No, seriously. More on that one later.
Okay.
They would genuinely eat anything.
Are we talking Soylent Green as people? They're eating people.
Yes.
Yay! Cannibalism!
There is a stage throughout the game where you find nurseries, you find prisons, you find cages. This is where the DLC starts. You start as a kid in a cage, ready to be prepared and
processed.
Oh god, so it's like Roald Dahl's Wishes if they took over the world kind of
Pretty
thing.
much, yeah.
You wake up in a bed, caretaker's going along.
Does your character have like an actual personality or they're just a cipher? No,
They've actually got a meaning to in the game because essentially end up developing these psychic powers, these abilities, which you don't really use in the game, but it's something that comes across towards the final levels of the game, and essentially you are the daughter of the woman who runs this ship.
Okay.
How did you find that one out? I may have missed this bit.
Is this game theory stuff or is this actual...
No, this is legitimate because there's pictures of your character in this final level. It's in the bedroom to this woman. There are pictures of you in there. And she sort of sees herself as the personification of beauty. She's sort of like the Snow White in this situation. The evil queen.
So it's Maleficent.
Essentially.
In a more Japanese-like style.
Is it? Who made
very
this?
Kabuki, very...
Okay.
Yeah. But she sees herself as the most beautiful... She's very slim, she's very slender. She sees herself as the most beautiful person in the world until you came along. So she casts you out along with all the others to essentially feed you to everybody else, but you escape.
Oh, that explains the beginning.
Yes.
Right, so this is this is a third-person puzzle platformer.
Yes.
With post-apocalyptic
you are essentially trying to escape.
You're horror.
You are trying to get out.
Is it the only survival horror on our list so far? It is,
Sorry?
isn't it? I mean, I don't think it's the only one that's going to be, but it's the only one that's come up so far.
No, we've had Last of Us.
Oh, yeah. See, Red
Dead Redemption. That's a survival horror.
See, I still think The Last of Us is like a misery simulator more than a survival horror. But yeah, so Little Nightmares. Do you know who made it? Do we have a publisher? Or because this is the one thing I know where all the rest of these games kind of came from.
Honestly, this is the first time I've
They use an Unreal Engine, I know that.
But a lot of games do, Addy. That's not...
Tarsier Studios.
Okay.
That's
who published?
The publisher is Bandai Namco.
Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Entertainment.
Okay. Fair enough. No.
The composer was Tobias Lilja.
Actually, yeah, that's a question I've got. What is the music actually like?
Very atmospheric.
Yeah.
Very set for what it is.
Kind of horror for the sake of horror kind of stuff. Okay.
When I was playing it, the music didn't really stick to me.
It's less about
the music. I played more of the game than the music.
And more about the environment that you're in.
No, so the trailers are all about this tiny little... I'm sure you're like in a little anorak or something.
You're in a raincoat.
Yeah, and they're just like everything's massive and you're a tiny thing.
There's not really an explanation for that, other than some of the theories that I've read into is malnutrition.
Yeah.
Malnutrition to where you're the size of another person's toe.
To the point where you can literally fit under a fridge.
Okay.
In my theory, I would say that the kids that you're playing are human-based, and these are just like malformed creatures.
It's sheer perfection, my precious G-virus. Sorry. No, I'm slipping again. I'm slipping into it again. So... Right.
If I had to recommend it, I would say yes, play it.
Is there any, like you say, there's powers and telekinetic stuff?
Not really.
It's not like a combat game.
No, it's not a combat-based game. It is very until the final boss.
Is that like a puzzle kind of thing?
It's more along the lines of can you dodge what she throws, and it's not directly You don't go up to the chef and bonk him on the head with a frying pan, or etc. It is more along the lines of escaping and using the environment to your benefit.
Oh, okay.
That should have been an aspect of the game. A dangling frying pan you could just unhook from the rafters and it just drops on their head.
Adam is a fan of Tom and
Sorry.
Jerry.
It would be...
It's very Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Is this PC or?
I think it's everything, Aid. I think it's even on Switch.
It's on
On
everything.
PC, it's also on
PS4, it's on Switch.
Xbox One, Switch.
Oh, so it's the full
And it's
range.
got a sequel coming out this year.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it has been announced this year.
See, I know of it passively. I'm kind of impressed that it's left this kind of impact. So I think this is I think it's the first new IP we've had on the list.
I believe so.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Not established.
Well, no, Last of Us, yeah, but that's kind of
Established by Naughty Dog.
yeah. People would have gone for
This
that
is
anyway.
kind of like an indie that's exploded.
Yeah.
If I had a New Year's resolution, more horror games I need to play. In
Okay.
general.
Well, boy, do I have one for you.
But it's not your turn. Oh, well, horror game, sorry.
No, it's not my turn. Okay, right. So this actually does sound like a really interesting game I want to try out.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely
I
play
want
it on
you
the
to
Switch.
try it and record it.
Okay. You're always fishing for new Let's Plays, this lad. Adrian. Now, I don't know how long we're going to go for, but your current number one is...
See, do you want my number one or do you want some honorable mentions?
Adam's done his number one, so I think we'll do
I'd
honorable
say
mentions
stick to the
afterwards,
script.
like the ones that could have made it. I mean, we might have a bonus round yet.
Might have a bonus round. All right. Well, number one, with a bullet,
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2.
See, my man snuck this one out from me. Because that would have been mine, yeah.
Came out
Lovely
right at the beginning of 2010, January. So, literally snuck in.
that says that's staying power.
It was in a time where BioWare was at its best. Because I think it was like literally 2 or 3 months before you had Dragon Age as well.
This is just before EA's rot had not set in yet, so
Yeah.
to speak. Not to say that all EA games are bad.
They are.
Oh, no, but they definitely have left an impact on the series now.
But yeah, it continued on from Mass Effect 1 pretty nicely.
I'd
With a
say it's
clean
got
slate as well.
one banger of an opening. Mass Effect 2, for the uninitiated, is a third-person shooter RPG kind of. Like, I mean, more shooter than it was in the first game, although the main means of combat was just shooting things or chucking powers at.
They tightened everything up for it.
Yeah. But, I mean, the opening is very interesting for me because it actually has the same camera angle and movement kind of the first game. Like, it's almost as if you're playing as old Shepard and then he dies. And then when you wake up, you actually play as the new and improved Shepard, and he's now got a slightly better camera angle and stuff, you know?
See what I like is throughout the first game, you're playing for the Alliance, and then the second one just completely flips it.
You're playing as the bad guys.
Yeah.
Well, no, you are not a bad guy, but
No,
you are
but-
working with the bad guys to take down something
Because
far
they brought
worse.
you back to life.
Yeah. You're kind of like...
You cornered into it, really.
Well, I mean, Shepard would have just shot them and said, "Nah, I'm all right." But,
And then the companion stories, they're all really good and really in-depth.
yeah.
And then the story itself with the Reapers, it sets up Mass Effect 3 really nicely.
I'd say even, I mean, not to spoil Mass Effect 3, and I still think that's a good game, but
Yeah.
2's like, you could play it, if you played it in pieces, like if you played it like just one mission or one chapter a week, it feels like it could be its own like TV show or its own opera. Everything feels very episodic, building up and building up and building up to the big season finale, which is the final mission of the game.
So I put it in the same length as like the Terminator films. So Terminator 1's really good. Terminator 2 builds on that and makes it even better. 3's not quite as good.
Are we I'm sorry, I feel like we're maligning Mass Effect 3 by comparing it to Rise of the Machines. Oh, God. Talk to the hand.
You know what I mean, though, don't you?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I mean, 3, I still think 3 was brilliant, except for the last 5 minutes, but 2, I mean, you are going around building up a crew just basically for a suicide mission.
Yes.
On you. And it's, I mean, it's a weird thing because it's not like you're getting space heroes and stuff. A lot of these people are dodgy people who've done dodgy things like assassins, murderers, bounty hunters.
Like the scientist.
Yeah,
as well.
he's the video game equivalent of Dr. Mengele, where you can like feel for him and he actually does redeem himself, sort of.
Sounds like Space Cowboys.
He can't
No,
do it.
it basically builds, well, spoiler for Mass Effect 2, 10-year-old game. But it basically builds a genophage.
He
for
improves
the
it.
Krogans. Yeah.
Narratively, he's made it much more effective. And that's a sort of sterilization kind of system to make people stop breeding on this species that's a bit uppity.
Yeah, like Krogans is like 90% of the babies are stillborn. But they have like really big litters.
Yeah.
Okay, all I know of Mass Effect is the multiplayer, and that's just because of Steve.
Yeah, the Solarians did some bad stuff, guys. But now then you've got Jack, like
one of the more interesting,
an artificial human. Well, no, the human that's been experimented with to the point of like they are a psychotic badass with these mind melting powers, and they're also not all there. At least in Mass Effect 2, they're a bit crazy. Genuinely obsessed, causing havoc, and then they have a really deep emotional trauma that you fix, so to speak, or explore, and they become the most sympathetic. Oh, I just want to hug you and make you feel better. And then was it Thane, the guy who's built up to be this like emotionless killer, like John Wick? It turns out he's really sad, and you kind of like, oh man, you're a mass murderer, but you only like you're gonna die in 2 months. I kind of
again sounds like John Wick.
And to build on that, the DLC they released was all really good with it as well.
Yeah.
The Shadowbroker DLC was one of the best pieces I've played.
I'd say they did the first round was like free stuff, wasn't it? Hammerhead and stuff like that. And even that was built on later. It was almost like a demo, like a show-off demo, because the Mass Effect 2 lost Mass Effect 1's vehicles initially.
Yeah.
And then you got like the Hammerhead hover tank, which is all right. It can jump. It's got an infinite missile launcher.
It's not bad.
It'll do. It's more maneuverable than a tank in GTA. That's about all I can say. Whereas the Mako could, like, that. Yeah, that was something else. Like, just to divert back to Mass Effect 1, which is even older, that vehicle could climb for days, but it couldn't drive straight. He couldn't drive it normally.
And the characters they added afterwards was
Kazumi. Zaid was a pre-order bonus. Kazumi was like a proper like expansion.
Yeah, and she was really good as well. She was like an afterthought.
Yeah, no. Even the interquel kind of DLC, the one that's Overlord, the one that deals with the Geth.
Oh yeah.
And Cerberus experimenting on them. It's like that touches on some very dark tones. Like they're without going too much into it, there is a young boy who is very much on the spectrum who is abused, and because he can like kind of understand binary and math to such a degree, they plug him into a computer to try and brainwash other computers. It is fucked up. It's brilliant, but it's fucked up.
How would that even work?
It's sci-fi. This is a science fiction universe where people can pick up other people with their mind and then launch them at a wall. I don't think we need to go that far into it,
Geth,
Adam.
again, is the
Geth are a purely synthetic race, as opposed to the Reapers, which are, oh god, this is the Mass Effect lore podcast now, I'm sorry.
The Geth was made by, I forgot the race.
The Quarians.
The Quarians, I think.
Yeah.
So what was the Geth race, that race that I was... Big robot guy that was pretty much a tank on legs.
Yes, that's the Geth.
That's the Geth, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
The Quarians made them. I think they were to be.
They were like
servants.
slaves
and then they became
servants.
sentient.
And the Quarians did what anyone would do when a machine talks back and go, nuke it.
Basically, running back to Terminator, they became Skynet.
Yeah, only this time it was more like the humans pissed off Skynet and then Skynet fired back as opposed to Skynet firing first. It's, mate, okay, look, Adam.
No,
all right, there's a reason why me and Ada just like, basically fan wanking this game, okay? Play it. Mass Effect 2 is magnifique. Even Callum loves it. See? He's sighing.
I've never played a single Mass Effect game.
Wow, man.
You're fucking up.
Okay, the first one, a little bit clunky in the combat. Story's pretty decent.
All I know is that the ending for Mass Effect 3 was a complete dumpster fire.
Oh dear, don't say that.
If I was to be generous, okay, this is a game that's about narrative choice, and in Mass Effect 2, these matter, right? These really matter, and if you don't prepare for the final mission, if you don't sort out your team's traumas and get their head in the game, so to speak, they could all die. This is an RPG game where you could do the final mission, complete its completion, the mission's still a failure because everyone dies at the end. Or it can be a fucking cowboys badass ride. You kill everything. You know how to do all the moves. Everyone's on the game, and you batter the motherfuckers left and right. Mass Effect 3, instead, it's you have pick the red door, pick the green door, pick the blue door, and behind it is the same fucking thing, only a different color. That's the
main thing that pissed me off.
Yeah, Mass Effect 3's, which is weird because Mass Effect 3, up until these last 10 minutes, is better than Mass Effect 2's narrative, but because of that ending, 2 smashes it to bits. Yeah, no, like I said, to dial it back from all this fan wanking stuff, right? Two's crux is you're building up a suicide mission crew to stop the Reapers from basically taking every single human in the cosmos, melting them down to build a new one of them. They melt people down to make more of themselves. And to do it, you have to basically break into the core of the galaxy, into uncharted space, and you need like the best scientists, the best gunners, the best like tacticians, assassins, any badasses you can get who are willing to take on the job.
And a Krogan.
And the best Krogan, the second best Krogan in the Mass Effect universe, because Rex is still Bay.
Yeah.
I got you, bro. Yeah, Grunt. This is it's a weird thing, because you're all the time, like you said, you're playing as the bad guys, technically. You are working for, because the heroes of the previous game don't believe you. They think you're talking complete hogwash. They also don't understand how you're still alive when you've been declared dead for 2 years, is it?
Yeah.
Or something like that. So the galaxy moves on without you, and you have to adapt. It's surreal stuff. And there's obviously all the usual sci-fi gubbins, neons everywhere. The music is done by Jack Wall. I think it was the last time he did music for Mass Effect. Unless he came back from Andromeda, I don't know. And it's some of the best, I want to say, not synthwavy, but science fiction theremin-y. You know, it's very, but except when it's actiony. I think that's done by a different composer as well.
Blade Runner.
Yeah. It's not like your modern synthwave that we get these days. It's more atmospheric. I'm sure there's other composers on the team, but I just can't remember the name.
No.
This was meant to be your pick, Aiden. I fucking ramroded it.
So I'm just wiping Mass Effect all off my face right now.
I know, right? Yeah, it's a good
Open
game.
your mouth and take it on.
Yeah. No, it's if Aid hadn't picked it, I would have done. No, that's how good.
Oh, that's not debatable.
No, it's not. Combat-wise, it's actually fairly straightforward. It's a third-person cover-based shooter with special powers, like you can set people on fire or electrocute them, cloak, launch bombs. I think there's a bullet time mode with one of the characters.
Yeah, it's like I think best way to describe it is a very clunky Gears of War.
With telekinetic powers.
Yeah, it's Gears of War with mind Hadoukens, which sounds pretty good.
And it's not even kidding.
No, yeah. That's Mass Effect 2. Came out January.
Yeah, did Mass Effect 2 have the multiplayer? Or was it
No, Mass Effect 2 didn't. Mass Effect 3 did. And I still occasionally play it because the gameplay in Mass Effect 3 was like if Gears of War, but good sci-fi powers.
I can't remember whether it was in Mass Effect 2 or not.
No, 2 didn't have a online component per se. It had I
know it had an online pass.
Yeah, but it was just for DLC.
Yeah.
It wasn't like multiplayer stuff.
Yes, the only thing I remember is the multiplayer.
It's because
Krogan.
Yeah, no. Whenever we needed the Krogan to hit things, you were there.
Yep.
You were there, man. You were there. Right. Okay.
Great game, Aid.
Yeah. Yeah. I helped him out there.
You did, actually.
Yeah. Callum, I know what this is, but you're going to say it shouldn't count, but I'm going to say it very much does.
I personally don't really believe it counts, but let's just roll around the circle for a moment. How many games can you think of that were released to such appreciation, such high regard, such high love and hype, and made the PlayStation 4 worth over £1,000?
Well, apart from the PS4 being £1,000, I couldn't think of.
You bought your PS4 for £1,000, Adam?
No.
Sucker.
Metal Gear Solid.
No,
I can see where you're going, but no.
The only game that has fit all those criteria for me was technically not even a game, it was a playable trailer.
Teaser.
Playable teaser, or PT for sure.
Yeah.
Where do I begin? Where do I start with this game?
Well, you can start with...
I started with the name, it's PT.
Oh.
That is the name, PT, for playable teaser.
I'm sorry, the simple-minded didn't click, sorry.
It's definitely worth noting this was the last game, I think the last demo that Kojima touched on. I would say the last fully developed, quotation marks, work he did for Konami. Because
under the Konami banner, this was essentially the project that ended the relations, but it was certainly part of the meltdown between Konami and Kojima.
It was rocky before then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this was almost released as a fuck you. You'll see how people think about it then, and you'll regret your decision.
Yeah, it's one of these what could have been games. For those of you who don't know, PT is the playable teaser for Silent Hills. A game that a series that if you know me, I will sit and I will just drown you in my love and appreciation for the Silent Hill franchise.
For perspective, me and Aid 10 minutes ago, multiply that by a factor of 100.
Yeah, it's...
I'll remember to wear protection.
I absolutely adore the Silent Hill franchise, and when this came out and people cracked it fairly quick, and it came out as just a teaser for a new Silent Hill game, I was straight on board. I couldn't wait to play it, and it was the first game in several years that genuinely scared me. Put me into a situation where I want to play, but I'm too scared to play.
This sounds like a game I want to play.
You can't. That's the problem.
Not without a few interesting approaches. It's for those who are for some reason living under a rock. What's it like? It must be very interesting where you live. It's a first-person survival horror.
It's not even a survival.
Well, no, it's just a horror game, isn't it?
It's just a pure horror experience.
It's Silent Hill, though, isn't it?
But there's no combat.
There's no combat. You are Norman Reedus being haunted by his wife Lucy.
Lisa.
But it's you start off fairly, say, standard. You start off in a little storage room, and you head through a door, and you are walking through the corridor of this.
This is after being talked to by what appears to be a pile of poo in a bag.
After your.
Now the first time, it's I walked. I did nothing but walk.
I don't believe.
And then there's a crack in the door.
The first time.
Yeah, he speaks to you first time.
Oh, was it? I thought it was after deaths and restarts.
I'm sure he speaks to you the very first time.
I'm sure it's after deaths.
Admittedly, you've played this game more than I have.
I'll have to play it just to make sure.
This game is it available?
No.
You played Layers of Fear, Adam?
No.
Because we're going to get into this a bit. This game has left a legacy.
Oh, Christ,
to say it's this is probably the worst term for it, but it's kind of dead on arrival. It never came out. The demo did, and the demo got pulled. But this game has left
the demo
a
got
legacy
pulled because of the relations between Kojima and Konami fell apart, and the Konami went on this tirade of trying to rip his name from anything that bared it.
Which is why every opening friggin' moment of Metal Gear Solid 5, Hideo Kojima this, Hideo Kojima that.
Yeah, it really is one of those what could have been games. It's set a standard for the full what would have been Silent Hills, which I don't think anything could have topped. I don't think anything could have really there was nothing like it at the time. It was you're walking through this corridor where once you reach the end, once you've done some little arbitrary things or some scripted events that jump out and you have to do bits like that, you will continuously go in a circle around this same corridor. And the
you looping corridors, Adam.
Yeah, I'm reminded of that game.
The ultimate aim for the teaser is either, well, you could either play it as it is of just going through this infinite corridor, getting spooked every.
I think it's actually only so many loops. I think you will eventually get there, won't you? Or do you have to you have to solve the puzzles?
There are specific things that you have to do in order to open the front door and head out and complete the teaser.
Does it have a bathroom scene with a feast?
Yes.
In the sink?
Yes, it does. Yes,
it is.
And that's
it was popular with the YouTubers back when it came out.
It was
that an Oculus Rift or
no.
visual?
No, this was before VR really kicked off. Christ, if it was.
Jeez, that was a different. I remember that.
But PT for me is the first horror experience that I played for a long time, which genuinely spooked the hell out of me. And it will forever remain on my PS4. I refuse to delete it.
Well, you
have the demo.
I have the demo.
Is it playable?
I've still got it on my console, and I refuse to get rid of it.
Is it playable?
Yeah, it's playable.
Don't worry, Adam. We intend to at some point cover on FireButton. I'll let you see.
It needs to be covered from the sounds on it because this is a legacy game.
It's one of these games that, as I've said 1,000 times so far, it's what could have been.
Which is strange when because I want to just deconstruct this a very little bit. Okay,
Yeah,
there is no music in this game. There is no. The only atmosphere you've got is like a radio blaring and maybe the haunting sounds of a ghost.
Yeah,
right.
Haunting sounds.
Wasn't there sort of sounds of rain tapping on that.
Yeah, but no, atmospheric stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's atmospheric, but there's no music.
All right, gameplay-wise, you can walk and you can press a zoom button, and until you realise that other buttons may potentially do things, that's it.
Yeah, that's all you can. There's no defending yourself. There's no interaction buttons. There's no.
We're talking less than any other first-person survival horror game of its genre, like Amnesia or Outlast. There is that minimal level of interaction, and yet it still gets under your skin. It will still make you feel like you're going to, actually be hurt by this game.
It's one of these. Yeah. You get into a situation with Lisa, you insta die. You are forced to restart at that point. But the story of the trailer is told to you in
the radio and the fetus, is it?
Throughout the radio, the fetus is more of like a set piece. Right. It's more of a this.
Dad was such a drag. He used to play the same games every day. Sorry.
The story is told to you via the radio, so it tells you what your character did and what essentially led to him being haunted by the Silent Hill phenomenon.
Yeah.
But there's not really much you can say about this game because there's nothing really to it. It's psychological. It really, like Steve said, it gets under your skin.
It plays with your mind.
There's some visual things that I'd say probably take cues from, like Jacob's Ladder and Twin Peaks and stuff like that. There's surrealist stuff. Like some loops that some people only encounter if they're playing a certain way. For example, you go through the door, you might have been possessed. You won't realise you're possessed, except the fact that you are now making the same sounds that Lisa has been making around the building. You're running at about 400% speed, and the entire corridor is like now 20 times longer, and all the paintings are looking at you. And then the next time, it's perfectly normal.
That weird visual effect that it extends the corridor.
Yeah, my personal favourite is the sheer evilness of the demo, in that you can pause the game for a break. Like, oh, you know what, this is a bit scary. I'm going to get a cup of tea. Just take a moment. And then the second you unpause it, the game kills you. Yeah. Like, it'll give you a half second of you think you're in control, and then BLEH!
The game never stops.
No.
It doesn't stop. The only way to stop the game is to turn the damn thing off.
Yeah.
Dude, you're giving me chills. I need to play it. I need to play it.
But the biggest reason that this is... It's not the biggest reason, because PT in on itself is definitely worth playing and experiencing for what it is. But as you mentioned earlier on about the Layers of Fear...
It's left a legacy.
It left a mark on the survival horror genre. It set a precedent.
See, a lot of people would... This is me probably the only time I actually legitimately mentioned Resident Evil 7 in this particular context, because while it was in development before PT...
Yes.
Some people who left Konami after PT, shall we say, death, went on to work on Resi 7. Yes. And I feel like maybe there is the slightest bit of that DNA in there, but...
Oh, very much so.
Overall, I would say PT's legacy is to the indies. Yeah. Your indie survival horror enthusiasts have taken the idea of looping death corridors and hauntings where you can't do anything and picked up the torch, which is a shame in some regards, because I'd imagine PT being a playable teaser, this probably was only one aspect of what they could have come up with. I don't think the entire game would have been
There was actually a trailer, actually, that was released... Before
the haunted Japanese, like the Shinto kind of horror shit going on, like the Ring and stuff was kind of happening around. I know which one you mean.
But there was actually a teaser for Silent Hills released before negotiations fell apart.
Mm.
And it was just showing, again, what could have been, what this was going to lead, taking from what you experienced in PT and applying it to what you saw in the trailer. This was going to be some serious mindful.
It could have been a landmark title. Is what I'm saying. I mean, it already is, sort of. Now, I mean, game of the decade right here.
Yeah.
But it could have been, like, GOAT, game of all time kind of shit. I think we were talking about this before the podcast, weren't we?
Yes.
This was, sadly, the death of, like, Japanese game design now for horror games.
Yes.
I mean, I love Resident Evil. I love me some Resident Evil. But they always more cater for an American-style audience now. They're very much like... They are the only Japanese AAA horror game that's kicking. Evil Within's gone. I mean, that was more Bethesda anyway. Project Zero's done. Silent Hill's dead. So this could have been a landmark title.
It's dead, but it's...
Oh, it's pachinko machines. Hit the lever.
It's never, ever going to be to the standards that Silent Hills was going to be.
Mm.
It can't be.
And while I will always be Team Resi over Team Silent Hill if I have to pick, but I still love those games. And it is a damn shame that it's gone.
Yeah, it's my biggest disappointment of the decade.
Yeah.
That Silent Hills is never going to come out. Unless Konami and Kojima kiss and make
They
up.
will never do now.
I was like, unless. I can hope, Steve.
Okay, well...
See, I have a different appreciation for this game. The game itself, I've no interest in because it's horror film. But the technical side to it, like, I don't know if you've seen some of these YouTube videos have been released recently.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Like, it's showing you how the game is built, whereas Lisa is behind you the entire time that you're playing. And someone's actually like broken the game, so they've got out of the door and explored.
It turns out that wasn't an FMV at the end. It was in-game.
It was all in-game. It's just fascinating to watch. And the amount of detail they put into it is just, it's unreal. Say it's that short of a game.
And instead, Konami are happy to put out stuff like Contra Rogue Corps, Hardcore, everybody. Is it Rogue Corps? Or what? That horrible Dead on Arrival thing.
That game could have had the potential of being one of the greatest horror games.
Yeah. And you don't even like horror games, do you?
No. That's I played 10 minutes of Resident Evil 2. I fucked up.
He was too scared. He was too scared. It pisses me off. It genuinely pisses me off that this game didn't come to be. And like I said about a couple minutes ago about how the indies have taken it on, but they've only took one facet of it, which is the looping nightmare corridor. It's
everything else is just still runny gunny point and shooty.
It could have been something great.
That sort of run and gun sort of thing would have never worked in the Silent Hill. They tried and it failed.
Well, that's another thing. It would have been a Silent Hill made by, I mean, not Team Silent, but Konami in-house.
Yeah.
As opposed to the people that, I mean, Tom Hewlett and the rest of those guys who made like Homecoming and Shattered Memories and stuff, that they have fans, apparently. No, I mean, I don't hate them.
Silent Hills since 4 have been Western developed.
Yes. I mean, some have been good-ish, some of them have been arse.
But this would have been back to basics, Silent Hill. This would have been essentially the Resident Evil 7 to Resident Evil 6. The back to basics, the back to what actually matters, and that is horror.
Yeah.
And they achieved that.
The only worry I'd have is Kojima leading it.
This is more a present day thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Death Stranding has been very polarizing, and
More of that later.
I don't think that's on any of our lists, at least in the praising kind of situation. I mean, me personally, I'm indifferent. But
even if you go back as far as like Metal Gear Solid 4, it's like some of the
you see,
bullshit in it from it.
A common thing I hear about Kojima, sorry, not Konami, is that Kojima needs an editor.
Yes, he does.
And
unfiltered.
He needs a filter.
Unfiltered, it can be a bit shit.
This guy's just taken LSD and just ran off.
You see, that's the strangest thing.
With a copy of Edgar Allan Poe.
Some people say that Metal Gear Solid 1, the iconic, the legendary Metal Gear Solid 1, which is a GOAT, it is a game of all time, was saved in the editing room. Like, Kojima obviously wrote the most of it, but his editor chopped it down and trimmed it up to the point where it's now a fucking fantastic adventure where you're playing as this grumpy, grizzled chain smoker against his twin brother and fighting giant robots and nuclear weapons. Yeah. Should have been on board for Death Stranding. If he wasn't, or if he was, he needs a raise.
Well,
Right.
In all sadness, the Silent Hill franchise is dead.
It's currently, if it's not dead, it's in a
limbo.
coma. Yeah, it's lost in that. It's lost in its own Silent Hill, Callum.
Yeah.
Take it as that. It's lost in its own personal hell.
It's
going around the corridor.
Yeah, it's going around its own corridors.
although the benefits to coming out of that is the survival horror genre has actually started to pick up.
Yeah, even if it is just like, here's Joe Valentine with a shotgun ready to take Nemesis' head off.
It's picking up. It's kind of taught everybody that keep it simple. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. It's just go back to what made survival horror good.
I say the closest paradigm I've got, and this is probably an insult now to PT, but the closest thing I've seen since that's trying to do what PT did without the looping corridor, except right at the end, way too much, is probably the Blair Witch game. And it's not the greatest. There is a Blair Witch game, Adam. Hi. Is it nice under your rock?
I could definitely see your
It's made by the people who made Layers of Fear, which is obviously very similar.
Parallel. They've taken a lot of inspiration on from PT, and it's probably the closest that we're going to get to
it's
smash Blair Witch and Layers of Fear together, and you've probably got the closest.
What the fuck is going on at Konami, man? Like, Jesus, like
everything's on fire. It's
we need to just like digest and move on at this point.
I'm sad again.
Yay! Now, okay, how many games is Steve going to pick that are dripped in nostalgia? Do you want to have a guess? Is it 2 or is it all 3?
Is this your number 1?
This is my number 1 game of the
Game of the
decade.
Resident Evil.
No, it's not Resident Evil.
Yeah, it was already said that Resident Evil's not on the list.
Even if it was going to be on the list, it's not now. No, my game of the decade is... is a very recent game for me. I played it last year. It didn't come out last year, but I played it last year. Everyone knows I like Dark Souls. You know, James, Mr. Moist Owlet, kind of introduced me to appreciating these games a lot more.
Hi, James.
Yeah, I played Bloodborne. Bloodborne is perhaps my game of all time. No, it's not game of all time, but it is definitely game of the decade. It beats out Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I am smashing that every chance I get when I can. Because I have to take time in between Bloodborne to digest it and appreciate it. It's a third-person action RPG set in basically what if Lovecraft but London, but at first you think it's what if it's just werewolves. It pulls the rug out from under you, then you have to learn more about this. Basically, it's all about an argument between two scholars about what they do with the blood of the gods. And one goes one way and tries to basically uplift man, and the other one tries to become a god. And it all goes to hell. That's the narrative. Oh, you're just a travelling fuck knows what who gets embroiled in. You're not important.
You're in the middle of the thing.
You're not even special. You're just a hunter. You happen to be clearly the best because you overcome these things and pick an ending. Most of them are shit. But the actual game itself and the atmosphere, you're walking through the dying gas of this town. Everyone's going feral. There are monsters everywhere.
Is this another like infected zombie?
Oh no! This is far worse. These people are sentient, and while they may not 100% know what they're doing, most of them there is a lot of xenophobia in this game. Like, you're just a stranger to them. They think you're a monster. They think they should hunt you, even though they're like fucking growing whiskers and like becoming werewolves and shit. And then you're fighting like eldritch abominations and tomb mummies and all sorts. This is very much a visual spectacle game. In terms
kind of like if Victorian London got hit by a H.P. Lovecraft book.
Yeah. No, someone literally just like if nuclear weapons, but it's a Lovecraft, and it hit Victorian London,
or somebody bewitched all horror stories of all time on Victorian London.
Yeah. And it does that Dark Souls thing where the narrative is there is bits and pieces. I would argue there's more direct narrative than there is in like the likes of Dark Souls. But it's mostly told by the items you find and the objects and the environment. It's environmental storytelling to the max. Like, you'll go through this part of the village and then you'll enter down into what's called Old Yarnham with a warning. This place is like just for the beasts. There's nothing of value here. Please leave, kind of. You walk in and it's a town that's still on fire. Like, it's been burnt to the ground once and now they're making sure these werewolves don't get out. You go a bit further and then you're down Henwick Charnel Lane, which is a normal everyday road down to what appears to be the Witch. The only difference being that it's lined to the brim with graves. Like, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have died for this witch. I have no clue what her fucking purpose is in this game. I still don't know. I haven't looked into her deep lore, but I know that people died.
I'm interested in this.
It's the closest I can put it to is a not quite modern set Castlevania game in a 3D environment space. Like, I still think like the best version of Symphony of the Night I've played in years is Dark Souls. And I would say this is the next step up. Your weapon set is, unlike those games, is very concise. There is no bullshit crap weapons. There's no like dagger of fucking useless. Even you could beat the game with starting weapon. The weapons all have like 2 modes. Like, you'll have a saw cleaver, which can be a handheld hatchet, or a long, like, not a sword, but like a ranged blade, which is serrated, so it's better for hunting beasts. And then you've got
like a claymore.
Yeah, you can get a claymore, which is like a silver sword that you can then put into its scabbard, and then it becomes a claymore. or you can get a lance spear gun rifle that's clearly designed to hunt vampires. Although I don't think there's like something that's implied to be similar to a vampire in this, but it's weird. For your context, Adam, because I know you watch these kind of films and stuff, think very Van Helsing-y in places.
Oh, yeah. You can use...
but no, that kind of aesthetic
you can use
is what I mean.
staked launcher to kill werewolves, because obviously they're not...
I mean, there are guns in this game, but they're not designed for, like, you don't shoot them to death like Dante and Devil May Cry. You use them to time and interrupt people to get critical hits.
Yeah, because they're not gunpowder based, I'm guessing.
No, they're silver bullets, but again, it's not...
It's one of these, you fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
As you go along sort of thing.
Everything has lore. Like, it wasn't until, like, halfway through our first playthrough, me and James, that we discovered that the blood that you're using to heal yourself is menstrual blood. Like imagine a priest has holy blessed it. It's not quite that simple, but like imagine blessed menstrual blood and you're using that to heal yourself.
It's interesting.
It's weird. It's very, very weird.
You don't say.
You put a year time onto this thing.
Victorian.
You say Victorian.
Sort of Victorian.
Like modern sort of.
It's not like you haven't got. There's no like flying cars or shit. It's set in like gritty, like Cockney-ish Victorian world.
Very imaginative weapons.
Take sort of like the era of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Even when you like, all right, you remember playing Dark Souls a little bit, Adam, where you go to a bonfire every time you die. You don't get that here. You go to like a dream world in between.
Was technically the safe.
Yes, it's.
I never got past the first bit.
Okay.
Honestly.
Never mind.
I've seen you guys play it though.
Yeah, it's a rush. The going out into these unknown interconnected places with this like very Metroidvania feel, finding like locations that link into other locations. There's no like power-ups per se. It's all about empowering your own character in terms of like your strength, your health, your stats, your durability. But finding different ways around the terrain and then connecting the terrain to get around faster. As you peel back layer upon layer of madness, eventually the more insight you get from seeing monsters affects how the world you actually perceive it as well, which means if you learn too much about these eldritch abominations, they start being more violent. They gain new moves. That in itself is an interesting gameplay mechanic to me. The fact that the whole goal of you as a player is to basically beat all these monsters and get to the end of the game and choose your ending.
Try and be as naive as possible.
But yeah, no, there is benefit to being an idiot. As stupid as it sounds, there is a benefit in the game to having your intelligence stripped away.
Sounds like my game.
And then couple that, if you're purely in it for the raw combat, which I haven't even touched on properly yet, where it's very... Right, they have an infinite dungeon. Like, you can control and modify how this dungeon comes. I think infinite's a stretch. It's like there's that many hundreds of thousands of permutations. They added that to the game as an extra. You don't even have to fucking touch it. And it's there, filled with new bosses and new unique enemies.
It's there as a raid point.
It's sort of. You can have online as well. But right, the combat in and of itself is basically, if Dark Souls was all about hiding behind your shield and finding the time to strike, this is about pacing yourself and finding your moments when to not try and resist the urge to run away. Because when you get hit in Bloodborne, there is the chance to get health back, and like a rallying mechanic by being violent back.
Fleeing is not an option.
Fleeing is an option, but
it's not smart.
It's better to outmaneuver your opponent and beat the living daylights out of them than it would be to try and find that perfect moment to hit. There is, of course, like people who have like no damage run this, I'm sure, and no death run and all the rest of it.
Definitely a trial by fire sort of game.
It's easier too.
You are better to die in combat than it is to keep backing off and going back in.
Yeah.
Backing off is probably going to get you killed quicker.
Yeah. I would say the skill required to beat Bloodborne is much less than Dark Souls.
Yes. I can play it, so it's definitely...
it's definitely easier, although that may be down to the fact that if you have a ranged weapon and you know how it works, where you hit an enemy at the right moment with it, you'll put them into a stagger state, and you can basically, in some cases, rip a person's heart out through their chest. In others, ram your hand down a boar's arse and rip it out from its insides.
Down an arse?
Yes. And you and your character will visually be rewarded by being covered in blood.
Down an arse. Sorry, I'm trying to still.
Yeah, you can fist pig's anuses in this game. All the while you're being haunted by. There's a particular character in this game, an enemy in this game I need to touch on as well, that still haunts me and gives me the heebie-jeebies. There's a character called the Doll in your dream world, which is your support character, so to speak, who helps you level up. Back in the like a malformed nightmare you stumble into, there is a twisted version of this that sings at you, and it makes your head explode with knives. You understand what I'm saying? This game is fucking weird. But it's ingrained into my brain now that this game is phenomenal. And it's made by Hidetaka Miyazaki. It's the guy behind Dark Souls 1, 3, Demon Souls, and I think a couple of the Armored Core games.
Oh. The
best game developer I've ever known to have... I'm rambling again, aren't I?
No, you're fanging.
This guy has managed to make a world where he can tell you nothing, and basically when you ask him a question about his world, he'll turn around and say, "Oh, no, you figure it out." He will never give you a straight answer. Half of these things are just stuff that I've either picked up from analysis or of looking at items and just looking at them, like reading the description of 10 times over and still not 100% sure what the fuck's going on. Or what a character said in game, or if I'm lucky, a YouTuber has touched on it. This game's lore is still not fully dissected, and the game came out in, 2015?
Yes.
You know, it's not as clear as, like, Snake. Liquid is going to launch a nuke. It's Snake, we don't even know what a nuke is, and Liquid Snake, who the fuck is he?
Put it this way, in story/YouTube perspective, the lore of Dark Souls has been torn apart by the game theorists. It's been torn apart by Matt Pat.
These games are very, very intricately written to the point where they are almost intentionally cryptic.
Even from that, there has been no...
If you don't give a shit about the story, though, right? The pure environment porn, the gameplay itself...
I play it
can
primarily
be brilliant.
for environment porn.
You know,
that's probably why.
There are to say that at the first I thought it was very samey. That the opening where literally you're in like ruralish London looking place, it goes some places.
When you say then the Victorian style of London, so I'm assuming sort of city based with outskirts. Yeah,
it's definitely there is some castles you can go to. There's some weird like almost Skyrim-esque tombs. But there is a lot of like Victorian style London in this, and there are a lot of churches.
How open are we talking? Are we talking like an Assassin's Creed sort of thing?
Oh no!
So there are some forms of uncharted territories you can't reach.
Yeah, it does the Dark Souls thing where you can see a location that's kind of visually striking. You go there, but you can't like. You're not GTA. You're not hopping from street to street or anything.
You are set on strict.
Climbing. What is this? You don't climb. You climb ladders. That's your verticality.
I think you can jump.
You can jump in the same way you can jump in Dark Souls, in that you run. You tap the run button and you'll do a slight leap forward. Yeah, there is no like Tomb Raidering around this world, and yet it is my game of the decade. It's a weird one. When I say it out loud, it feels like I'm cheating because the game could be better. The multiplayer is kind of crap. The multiplayer is you'll summon in some backup, but you will also potentially...
Dark Souls.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose in that regard it's nicer than Dark Souls because you don't ever have to summon anybody and you will never be invaded. But if you do opt to try and have a co-op game, because you can be a bit more co-op friendly than you would be with Dark Souls, you are invited... It's like using your internet, I suppose, in some regard, because, yeah, you can access these websites, but you might get spyware. That kind of logic, you know?
A game character comes into your realm, but you can kill him.
Yeah, he might accidentally leave the door open and some idiot might follow him.
So you're saying it's like going on the internet with no firewall?
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All protection and just opening all your ports.
Yeah.
Just go, come on in!
It's surfing Pornhub without our block.
I don't know, Steve.
Not that anybody in this room would know what that's like.
Yeah, I'm sure. Listeners do, though, don't you? Okay, as per usual, I'm a ramble machine. So... Do we have any other games we want to talk about in any particular fashion? Doesn't have to be a long-winded essay. Can be if you want. I feel like we'll go around the room because Callum's already getting ready to list. Adrian.
I've a few that I'd like to mention. I mean, I'm not going to go into detail for a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment, obviously, that's been a big part of me this year.
Yeah, that's more of a game of the year, but yeah, it's nudged into the decade as well.
Yeah, it's I think it's because it's been like a good self-contained story, even though it was in Kamurocho using some of the Yakuza lore sort of thing. But it's been a decent game. I've not finished it yet, which is why I've not really put it as a game of the decade fully. But I've really enjoyed what I've played of it. I'm not going to say too much because obviously we've been about it in other podcasts.
This one's fairly recent as well, so there's potential for spoilers actually ruining something for somebody.
Yeah. The ones, well, I'm not going to go too much into it. PSO2.
Phantasy Star Online
Yeah,
too.
that came out 2012. Japanese only.
Yeah, but you managed to do certain nefarious things using VPNs and the like.
Kind of. Well, I got IP blocked in the end, so I've got to wait. But what I played of the game, I think I had the game for about a year before I got IP blocked, and I really enjoyed it. It was a true success for Phantasy Star Online, which is one of my favourite games.
As opposed to Phantasy Star Universe, which was kind of a dumpster fire.
Yes.
It was I enjoyed the music and the visual styles, but I never had the nostalgia factor of Phantasy Star Online. So.
But being Japanese, I haven't got a fucking clue what story is.
Dave! Oh, God.
That's about right. Look at Pink Sweets.
Another one I'd like to mention was Battlefield Bad Company.
Okay, Bad Company 2.
Yes, really good single player, and it was the Battlefield game that got me into the multiplayer side of it. And that was the first Battlefield I really touched multiplayer, and it kind of kicked off from I'll have a couple of games to 500 hours later sort of thing. Really good single player story as well. Final one I want to mention is an MMO.
Oh, no. Another one?
Yes. Final Fantasy 14.
No, that's fair. I'm assuming you mean Realm Reborn.
Yeah, I mean, it came out 2010, which was an absolute shambles. And they had to literally change the team and rework it from the ground up for a new release in 2013.
I think they did all right. I think they did
They
all
have
right.
18 million users at the minute.
Yeah. No, support of the channel, as of our big, almost like bordering addicted, I think, to that game. I'd say that as a streamer, he does it literally. It's like one of his main bread and butter games, so probably is addicted.
It's one of the only MMOs I've been willing to pay money to play for.
And it's 2010, no? Or is that?
That's when the original release was.
Yeah.
The Realm Reborn was 13.
I mean, it's 2020, and it did it have an expansion last year, which sounds weird saying that was on like about half.
It's
half
had
a
an
month ago.
expansion every 2 years.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I would argue probably a bit better than WoW from what I've seen, but that might be my Final Fantasy bias showing.
I mean, I'm only like halfway through the second expansion. And I can't really tell you much about the story, but the first game, the actual Realm Reborn, was probably one of the best Final Fantasy stories there's ever been. And the story's just been progressively getting better as you've gone on.
Remind me one more thing before we dive on, Aid. What is your favourite Final Fantasy story? This may or may not have a factor. It's 8, right?
Story, 6.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, just checking.
Non-MMO.
It checks out. It checks out. We will not fire you. I'm kidding. You're allowed to like FF8. 7's better. Don't at me. Callum.
I have a book in my hands.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to keep these relatively short.
It's not
Okay.
a book, it's a novel.
So, these are all my honourable mentions. These are all games that would have made it on my list had it not been for the games that were on my list. So we've got Resident Evil 7.
Ooh. The first actual Resident Evil on the list.
Yeah, it's just... As we mentioned earlier on the PT, it took a bit of inspiration from that, a little bit of the style behind that, even though it was being developed before PT.
Like I said there, but there is a thing of taking notes, isn't there?
Yeah, they were leaning over and copying somebody's essay and stuff like that. But it's just a generally good, stable, it's an enjoyable survival horror game. It's probably one of easily the best, for me, and Steve's about to throw something at me,
No.
the best Resident Evil game since 3.
That's fair. I don't agree with that statement, but I'm willing to accept it. There's plenty of people in the Resi community who would agree with you.
So next one, we've got Axiom Verge,
Nice.
which is just a Metroidvania. I think it's only for the Switch.
No, it's on everything.
Is it?
Axiom Verge, Switch was actually the last version.
Oh, was it? Oh,
I think the
okay.
sequel is Switch exclusive, though. It might be on Steam as well.
So, yeah, Axiom Verge, it's the first Metroidvania game that I've ever actually played. I've never played
okay.
Metroid.
Steve's going to educate Callum at some point.
Nor have I played Castlevania Symphony of the Night or stuff like that.
That's fine.
Not
We're
played
going to
any of
get
that.
there.
I'm in the same boat.
But Axiom Verge, to me, is very cyberpunky. It's very giant robots and
It's
sci-fi.
weird.
It's if Alien, but not Alien, had a baby with Metroid.
Yeah. Well, by had a baby, we mean almost cloned it.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
But yeah, it's nice and enjoyable. The soundtrack's really nice.
Made by pretty much one guy, Thomas Happ.
Yes.
And damn, that was some hard work. I remember, this is random now. I remember that when that was going to be an Xbox Live indie game.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a million fucking years ago. It's not anymore, obviously. It's everywhere. I think it came to Xbox last. It came to like Steam, well, Switch last. It was like PC, PS4, then Xbox, then Switch. So yeah, weird.
So next up, we've got Alan Wake. As I was
Yes.
reminded to earlier.
Yes.
For me, as a survival horror fan, it was different.
The best video game adaptation of the Twin Peaks methodology,
Yeah.
besides maybe Deadly Premonition, but that really cannot go on Game of the Decade. It's too clunky.
For me, it's not a perfect game. Definitely isn't. Tasha, don't hurt me. But for me, it was a different take on survival horror. It was something new and refreshing, almost. But the story was good. The characters were likable. The environments were nice. It was just nice and different.
I'm going to say, I can't do justice to him, but Alan Wake's editor, Barry Wheeler, best sidekick character in a survival horror game.
Yes, definitely.
Motherfucking legend. All right.
Next along is Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yep. Okay.
Which, massive open world, big Zelda fan anyway. Breath of fresh air. Well,
For Zelda.
Breath of the Wild, should we say, of a Zelda game.
Alright, I'm sorry for misnaming it. I apologize for that.
Oh, what's it?
Breath of the Wind.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Breath of the Wild. It's a fun take on a game. And I've sunk a good 50 to 60 hours into it and still don't feel like I've done. But it's worth it. Then, just to close it all off, it's RimWorld.
The game that this was going to be a main feature on the podcast, but then Callum dropped it.
Yeah, this was going to be one of my top 3, but it can sit as my game of the year. See previous podcasts for reasons. I've gushed about it on videos. I've gushed about it on the podcast already. Play RimWorld. It's good.
Adam, are you ready?
Somewhat, yes.
Somewhat.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, my first one would be Dragon Ball Z Fighters.
Oh, okay. You mean Fighters Z? No, it's Fighters.
Fighters Z. So, yeah, I realise
It is Dragon Ball Fighters. I'm just being a pain.
I don't own it, but I've played it with you guys, and it is...
Game of the Decade material.
Well, it's Dragon Ball, man, you know.
No, okay, right. For the understate, it literally is basically following the Marvel formula with Dragon Ball characters, and it is pretty visually stunning. Like it is, like it's not quite watching 1-to-1 the show, but it is. Music's great, fighting is awesome.
I would say it's probably the best Dragon Ball Z game that I've ever played.
Wow. Okay.
Next, the Slender Arrivals.
Slender the Arrival. Was that in the decade? Was that in this decade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Why?
Because Slender Man's scaries.
No, because I actually managed to get all 8 pages that day.
Okay, so this is more a YouTube and FireButton history thing, and it's
Go
left
watch
its
the
mark.
video, you'll save a lot of time.
Okay, no, that's fair. If it's memorable to you and you want to consider it a game of the decade, I can't say it's invalid, can I? So,
Limbo was a nice, creepy,
atmospheric indie platformer,
game, yeah. Especially with that spider. That spider was just all kinds of chills.
I would say that borders on the iconic now. That spider is burned into my retinas.
If that spider had a figurine, which I'm pretty sure if you search our internet long,
There'll be something on Etsy or Wish, I'm sure.
I
Pitch dark spider that has mechanical legs.
I would love to own that spider. Maybe.
It's just 2 legs as a bookmark.
Right.
Yeah, I'll just throw another.
Man,
Welcome to
yeah.
the 3-hour podcast.
You know?
I'll not put any context to it. I'll just say Diablo 3.
Huh?
Diablo 3.
Diablo 3, okay, alright. Oh, wow. Oh, Aid. Now that's a game.
There's a game.
It started out a bit shaky, but it got
Then it
better.
had Reaper of Souls, and it was really good.
But right, I'm stealing everyone's thunder now.
I'm going to throw in Cuphead just for the sake of we played it and it was fun.
Cuphead's probably the best side-scrolling run and gun we played in fucking while. Game of the Decade's probably. I mean, I don't think I'd put it there, but it's definitely a good game. Definitely,
I'd put it in my list.
definitely. Yeah, but this is everyone's like everything is valid, everything is permitted, and you know, right?
Nothing is sacred.
Okay,
We've had Assassin's Creed.
Steve
Come on,
looks
move
over
on.
at his cabinet.
right. So I've got a few. First one's FTL, Faster Than Light.
Ooh.
Fantastic roguelike strategy game where you can actually just like fuck around the whole point is you're being chased by the rebel fleet and you have to basically go across space, specking up your ship, to get to the end state to then fight the boss. And it's all about basically gathering resources, and there's like narrative choices and how you approach things and who you get through. It looks like MS Paint, but it's fantastic. Next
If
is
Star Wars but flipped it the other way around.
yeah, kinda. Next is Wolfenstein: The New Order, because much like Doom 2016, but bringing back Wolfenstein in a breath of fresh air kind of way, where they used very old school kind of approach. It almost felt like GoldenEye in a way, because dual wielding is encouraged, and you could try and be stealthy if you want. You had objectives. But it had for a first-person shooter, it had a very interesting narrative to say it was basically fuck up some Nazis. For one, the Nazis win. They've now got this whole diesel punk aesthetic going on, which is ironic, really, because I was lambasting Bethesda at the start of this podcast for how shit Wolfenstein Youngblood is. But it's because New Order was so fantastic, all right? That game brought BJ Blazkowicz back and made me actually care about the guy. So, yeah, very simply, it's a first-person shooter with stealth mechanics, fighting. You just shoot some fucking Nazis. That's all you need to know. Next is Dead Rising 2, the only open world game I'll probably put on this list, and that's mainly because the time sunk into it. Co-op zombie survival horror game, if you want to play it co-op. General crux of it is a Las Vegas style place, and you've got to survive the zombie apocalypse for a set amount of time. There's a lot you can do with it. There's a narrative you can play, or you could be a complete dickhead and just fuck around and murder some zombies. Simplistically put, it's a game I've played over the decade that still leaves warm fuzzy feelings. Next is two more survival horror style things. I'm going to just fast shot these because Dead Space 2, it's a landmark title, the best Dead Space in my opinion. It is very much the Aliens to Dead Space 1's Alien, in that everything is much louder, much more violent, a little bit more set piecey. Then you have Alien Isolation, which is
That was going to make it onto my list.
the best interpretation of the Aliens license I think I've seen ever. And it's the only Alien game I know of where shooting the alien is a really bad fucking idea.
As we mentioned before we started, between me and you as well, Alien Isolation for me saved the survival horror genre.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to call back to RE7 now. You can shoot Jack Baker. You really shouldn't.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah, you could shoot the alien. You probably shouldn't. But then there's the Molded, and then there's the Working Joes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's also about 10 hours long. I would argue that the only problem with Alien Isolation is it can be a bit too fucking long.
The problem I had with Alien Isolation was you spend the first hour bumming around in a spaceship before anything happens.
But that's like
Sounds
Alien.
fun.
That's like Alien. This is the best interpretation of the Alien license.
Yes.
And that pretty much sums it up for me. There are no doubt games I have missed. I mean, all of a sudden I want to say Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac. You know, it's...
Skyrim.
I mean, we should probably take note. There were the rest of the guys, the FireButton crew, they did mention stuff like GTA 5 and Skyrim and Breath of the Wild and Fallout 4.
Is it FIFA?
You mean Football Manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Hi, Tom.
There are lots of landmark cornerstone titles that, while these folks went on the podcast, do consider really game of the decade kind of material. And yeah, it's I think we have rambled on.
Well, I can definitely say this past decade has been a fantastic games.
If the past decade is any pretense to what this decade is going to bring, fucking bring it on.
Exactly.
We've seen an entire we've seen at least a handful of subgenres show. We've seen the indies explode.
Yeah.
I mean, looter shooters weren't a thing. Dark Souls weren't a thing. You know, roguelike is an entirely much bigger and newer genre, I'd say.
It's kind of the Metroidvania of the new generation.
Yeah, no. Lots of stuff has come up on the rise in this past decade alone.
I mean, love them or hate them, you've got the
narrative-based stuff like
well, I was thinking more
Telltale.
like the Fortnite shit. I mean,
Yeah, no.
we don't like them, but
We don't
deny
yeah.
them. They're bad.
We may not like battle royale games, but they are here to stay, and people love them. You can love them if you want. Personally, you know, if you had to put me in front of a PUBG or a battle royale like Fortnite game, I'm probably going to just say, thanks, mate, I'm good. I'm going to just go down the pub.
Yeah, but it has had a massive impact.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's like non-violent competitive party games like Overcooked, stuff like that. Yeah, there's lots and lots of cool little things that have happened this decade. And I do feel like this is perhaps the rambliest we've done. Lads.
Just a really quick
But it's been
off
fun.
that, how many generations of video game consoles have we had over the past decade?
The past decade,
It started with
Xbox
two,
One.
didn't it?
It would have been the Xbox 360 to Xbox One, PS3 to PS4.
Wasn't the PS2 still in on the 2010?
2010.
10s, yeah, I'm thinking 2000.
That would be 2 decades, Gal.
We've had 2, probably 3 generations of consoles in the space of the last decade.
I mean, in Nintendo's case, it was 3. It was Wii U, and Switch. But if we were doing 2 decades, I'm sorry, this is a very different list. That I have loved a lot of games from here, and like as much as I'm singing Blood Prawns praises, RE4 is taking its spot. Okay, all right. With that all being said, listeners, I want to thank you very much for making it all the way to the end.
If you did, then
congratulations.
I by all means, reach out to us on social media and tell us your games of the decade. And if it's Si still complaining about the fact that it's not really the end of the decade, is it? I love you, buddy, but please let it go. It's fine.
It's okay to be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong. Technically, they're right, but we're right. So I want to say thank you to Callum, Adam, Adrian, for having what has been the strangest but most enlightening conversation about the games, what we would pick for games of the decade.
Thank you for having us, Steve.
Yeah, well, thank you for contributing to this thing that we're all a part of.
Us in your house.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me out of the cupboard.
Aww.
Back in your cupboard now.
Yeah.
Off you go.
We are planning on picking up the podcast again and doing it a bit more in the classic structure, I think, next time, picking a general central topic. But in the meantime, there's not a lot else to say except keep an eye on social media for us. I think we're mainly focused on Spotify, but we're planning on reaching out to iTunes and things like that. And yeah, have a good time. It's been fun. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.